It's about I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Here we go. Stop from the gun to the touchdown. It is caught. Touchdown.
This is BS Sports.
Well, we are back. Oh my goodness, it feels like it's been an eternity. Seth, you made it out of the play place.
Yes.
He's been stuck in a McDonald's play place for the past 4 weeks. He finally made it out.
Yep.
We had to send in a team of Navy SEALs, an ambulance, and even a 5-star chef. I don't know what he did, but he did something. He was there. He was there. Seth, how have you been? We were talking a little pre-show. How have you been? Tell the people how you've been.
Can't complain. I made a couple of friends in the play place, and we're gonna get together for coffee or something.
I don't know how those kids survive in the ball pit, but they managed to.
Couldn't tell you.
Boy, we have a massive show. We got a big show. We have a lot of things to talk about. NBA free agency is going wild. We got Alex Debrincat finally coming home to my Detroit Red Wings. We got the halfway point of the MLB season. We got to talk about the state of our teams because mine is about where I thought it would be. Yours is not where you thought it would be.
Nope.
But yet they're at very similar places. We'll talk about it.
Yes.
We got something that I find to be fascinating. We will get my live reaction. We have way too early ESPN power rankings of NFL teams. I'm rocking the Lions shirt in honor of such a thing.
Of course.
And the headliner right now on the title, we see it. Where does Damian Lillard end up? Because late to the show, late to the news cycle, Damian Lillard has finally requested a trade from the Portland Trailblazers. So Seth, when this occurred, do you remember where you were? Do you remember the moment where you saw Damian Lillard trade request? He wants out. He's done with Portland. Oregon, he threw it into this trash can. He said, no more. Where were you?
I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you my first thought.
This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Stephen A., he is on point for that. That's for sure. Because, here's my thing, right? When I first saw it, it was like, okay, all right. Portland's kind of in a pseudo rebuild-ish thing. Dame doesn't want to stick around. Okay, understandable.
Yep.
And then more things started to kind of come around. And I got a little thing here. I saw this on Reddit. I have the link here. This is from a few days ago, but I'm pretty sure it's basically still the case. Dame, this is, and I quote from ESPN, Dame's agent, Aaron Goodwin, has been calling prospective trade partners and warning against trading for him, team executives told ESPN. Goodwin is telling organizations outside of Miami that trading for Lillard is trading for an unhappy player. Now, wait a minute, Seth. Maybe I'm mistaken. Does Damian Lillard have a no-trade clause?
I don't believe so.
That's strange.
I don't think so, Mike.
Now, why does he get to dictate where he goes?
Allow me to answer that. He is an NBA player in 2023.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
Simple as that.
This whole thing to me, he did a speed run of how to make me mad, and he did a speed run of how to just ruin his entire personality. He's built up. I'm that guy. I'm for the grind. I'm sticking around. I want to be loyal to Portland. By the way, guys, I don't want to play for any other team other than Miami. And if you send me anywhere, I will be very upset when I take that $30 million or however much I'm getting paid a year.
More than that, I'm sure.
Out on a bench. And it's for one, we don't he's still a really good player. He's still got a few more years of basketball. He's 30? He's in his early 30s, I believe.
Something like that.
And it's still if any team acquires him, and I'm routinely checking my phone during the show in case this
Anything
thing
does
happens.
happen. Yep.
But then I'm seeing today the Portland GM and Woj are reporting this could go on for months.
Yep.
And I'm just like, well, the season
What does that
begins
mean?
in the season begins in what? October? I think that's around when it begins.
Mhm.
And he's not playing for Portland. He's not going to play if for some reason this has not gone through by the time the season begins, he's not going to play on Portland.
Yes.
So I'm not saying they got to rush it, but with this whole oh, I need to go to Miami, I don't want to go anywhere else. To be totally frank with Dame, it's well, you don't really have a choice. We're going to trade you where it makes sense for our team that's entering into a kind of rebuild, and they got they just drafted what's his name, the
Scoot Henderson.
Scoot Henderson.
Yep, the Scoot. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's they're not in a terrible space. I mean, other than I don't know what they're thinking extending Jeremy Grant, but whatever. Maybe they seem to value him in some way. Why in my mind does Damian Lillard if he was just you know what, I've done it and I did my time in Portland. We tried to win. It didn't work out. Just I want to change the scenery. Here are my top teams. I'm willing to go to any of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
You can negotiate with them. And if literally none of them will give you an offer you like, which is pretty much impossible,
that is
then,
true.
I don't know. I guess I'll just sit on the bench and then wait until I become a free agent in 5 years or however long his contract is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm okay, can you just get traded to Miami? Because I'm just done with you. It's I don't want him to get what he wants, but it's just shut up. Just stop talking. Stop having your agent talk. You're making me not want to like you. When before, I mean, I think a lot of people had a lot of reason to like him. I mean, maybe the loyalty bit was a bit much for people, but I just
yeah.
I've never seen a player I guess Kevin Durant kind of destroyed himself in 30 seconds.
Pretty much
when he just went to go to Golden State, but it's just a total 180 to me. It just bothers me. It bothers me. Am I crazy? Am I an old man?
I think for the most part, no. I will say I think because in the very beginning of him coming out and saying that he wants to be traded, he did have a list of teams. It has since been obviously narrowed down to just Miami.
Yeah.
But I do I'm in a place where I can kind of understand the kind of 180. It's a very quick turnaround, I will say. So that's something I don't like. But Portland hasn't done anything essentially, and Damian Lillard,
Clyde Drexler,
since Clyde Drexler,
before either of us were born,
pretty much. And he is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 point guards in the NBA.
Right.
So it is understandable to me that he, requests a trade. He wants to go win, but at the same time, kind of like I had said earlier, he's a player in the NBA in 2023. I think a lot of them are like this.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate to see, but I feel like it's just
sort of the
it's a
the way
thing.
it is.
It's just it's the norm for these players now. So
And it's I don't like to. I don't know. It's sometimes I find that as fans we kind of do too much of the flip where we're either so maybe back in the 80s or 90s we were pretty much generally not upset about ownership or anything. We were when it came to these sorts of collective bargaining things, we'd usually maybe I'm totally off on this. I wasn't alive in the 80s. Well, I was alive for a few months in the 90s, but people were oh, well, these players, they need to just stop being so greedy and just go out and play or whatever. And then now it seems like it's kind of the opposite, where you have a lot of people in the media who are almost to the point where they're JJ Redick. It's at a certain point, it's the players aren't totally out of responsibility for Like I mentioned this to you. I saw an article when I was getting the thumbnail image of Dame, and it was like Damian Lillard has nothing left for. It's like, well, like with that attitude, I wouldn't want to trade him somewhere that he wants to go, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then like there were some people who are like, oh, like it would be good if Portland did this for him, because then it shows like how they treat their players. It's like, well, what are you saying? Like, you're saying, okay, when we get a good player and when you request a trade, yeah, we'll just do whatever you want. And, you know, who cares about the team? Like, poor Jeremy Grant is like, well, shoot, what if I just signed a big contract here? I'm going to be here for however many years. He doesn't want to be on a loser team either. And obviously, Jeremy Grant is not Damian Lillard, but he is a professional athlete. And I like, you know, why does he get the short end of the stick? Because he doesn't get put on the 2K covers. I don't think Damian's been on a 2K cover.
He has,
But-
actually.
He has?
Mhm.
Wow. What was that? Like 2K19?
I believe is 20 or 21.
Well, that's cursed.
Mm.
He got put on 2K20. No wonder he wants out.
Yeah.
You know who the last Detroit Piston to be on 2K? I believe it was Ben Wallace.
Well,
For
there you
like
go.
2K02 or 2K5 or something.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yep.
It's been a while. And
Well,
Detroit usually gets, I mean, we've had cover athletes. I don't really put too much stock into it anyway. It's usually just like a big
It's
market
actually a curse
player.
more than it's a good
This
thing.
is true,
so-
especially in the NFL.
Yes. It's a real
but-
thing. It's a real
yeah.
thing.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was, you know, you could link the Padres' downfall to Tatis getting the cover of MLB The Show. Basically, since then,
Yep.
he has been, well, he's been a good player this year, but, you know, the steroids and then,
Well,
you know,
yeah,
this
yeah.
year with the suspension, like, and
Yep.
he comes back and he's good, but he's not like, you know, he's not there the whole time. So it's like, well, that
Correct.
sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of trade requests, though, this is also old news. I apologize to like, obviously some of this is old news because we didn't have a show last week. It was Independence Day, so we were independent of doing the show.
Correct. That's
That was
it
how
works.
I rationalized it.
That's how it
I had a good night. I watched the Tigers lose to the Oakland A's that day.
Oh, nice.
One of the I think top 5 worst things to happen in this country, right? You have
Yep.
like 9/11,
Yep.
Abraham Lincoln assassination, Pearl
Mhm.
Harbor, you know, I don't know, Boston bombing, Tigers losing to the A's on 4th of July.
Yep.
I
I think that's completely rational.
think that's number 1.
Yeah.
But
has to
anyways, we're getting off track. James Harden wants to get traded, and we were talking about this briefly before the show. Who wants this guy? If you want this guy, sell the team. Commit team suicide. Go
Pretty
do what
much.
the Seattle Supersonics did and run away. Or what the Cleveland Browns did in the 90s. Pick up the team and move to
And-
Baltimore, and maybe the ocean will just sink you. Because if you trade for this guy,
Mhm.
I'm saying this right now. This is the Mike BS Sports guarantee. The team that trades for this guy will not win. No shot, no chance. You will not win. It doesn't. I don't care who's on. I don't care if LeBron trades for him. I don't care if Giannis gets him. I don't care if the
We don't
Heat
want
get him. You will not win with James Harden. How many times does this guy have to go to a different team and lose in embarrassing ways? He is infamous for not showing up. And for some reason, he still has this idea in his head that somebody would give up assets for him. Make it make sense, Seth.
Mike, in your very angry heart, I wish I could help, but I can't because I agree.
I don't understand. I don't like, and the problem, it's like,
I don't either.
this is like the same, like with the NBA, it's like, everyone's just, oh yeah, James Harden, he's like top, whatever. It's like, I don't even know. Like, I can't put him in the same category as like, you know, the Giannis's of the world, even the Dame Lillards of the world. And we just talked about how much Dame Lillard got on my nerves. Like, he's just not there when it matters. He just isn't. I need to
Yeah.
look up his playoff numbers because I can't imagine they're anything other than pedestrian.
He
I
had
mean, it's like he
a
might have.
game that he
let's see.
dropped like 45 this past playoffs, but I believe that was his best game.
Yeah, like, okay. So in Philly, he puts up a lot of points, but let me see if I can find some game logs. Can I find a particular? Where's a game log?
And see if Embiid was playing or not.
That's a good point. Here we go. Okay, this gives me the playoff series, so it doesn't just give me the total points. This year with Philly, in the first round of the Eastern Conference Finals, 8 points. Or I'm sorry, 17 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. The other series he did good, but frankly, I think those numbers are inflated because he dropped like 100 the first game and then just said, goodbye. I mean, what was it, game 7 or game 6? It was elimination game. He said, I'm going to get 9 points. And then I'm out.
Yeah.
And there was I don't know if you watch RDC World, they're like NBA skits. They were like trying to, in the skit, Doc Rivers was trying to figure out how James got the 9 points. And I don't even remember because I watched that game and it was as if he wasn't playing. It was like, wait, where's James? Does anyone know where James is?
And that's the thing, is like, it's almost like he believes he still thinks he is the James Harden of old, dropping like 60-point triple doubles. But he is not worth that.
No.
I'm pretty sure in the regular season he averaged like 20 and 10, which are good numbers. Don't get me wrong, but for his contract, absolutely not. I don't know a single team.
He hasn't averaged 30 points since 2018, 2019 when he played for Houston. And I believe that was the year he won the MVP.
Yes.
So,
but then it's like, what? I don't think there's any team in their right mind who looks at his contract, how much money he's making, and then you look at the numbers side by side, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna get this guy. He would be a really good asset. There's nobody that would.
2019, 2020 was the last time he got 30 points. But still, the same, basically the same timeline. He hasn't gotten.
Last time
averaged 30 points.
Last when he was
in
Houston,
long time.
I think.
Yeah, and I mean, he for one, this year we know that he's on the down. Like, this was the first time he wasn't an All-Star since 2012.
Yep.
So, and by the way, you are 33 years old,
and you're
not LeBron, right?
You're not
going to be
big this way, buddy.
Yeah, you don't have another 6 years in you, like, the freak athlete that LeBron James is, because for one, you don't inspire a lot of confidence. He's not a leader for sure.
No.
He's never been a leader. He wasn't a leader in OKC. He wasn't. I mean, I guess you could sort of call him a leader in Houston, but he was with Chris Paul.
He was just the best player on that team.
He was with Russ. Like, he was. No, he was not really a leader.
No.
And then in Brooklyn, he certainly wasn't the leader because Kevin Durant was the leader, and
we all know how that works
another
out.
one. But he hasn't done anything, so he's not on my bleep list this particular show. I'm sure come the season, if he requests a trade, then you'll get angry, Mike, at Kevin Durant.
Well, there you go.
It's like, what is it about that, like, big three of OKC that just all of them turn? How did it turn out that Russell Westbrook ended up to be the most likable of the three? Like Kevin Durant, bum, can't win on his own. James Harden, same story. Russell Westbrook, he's just kind of not that great anymore. It's almost sad, really.
I mean, but here's the thing, though. The contract that he just signed with LA, the Clippers, it actually fits his.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's
and his numbers.
You can tell he's not.
He wants
an
to play.
Egomaniac.
Yes.
I think he had a really humbling experience with the Lakers. Obviously,
sure.
He was basically not ready for the big show. Ironically, now he's playing with the Clippers, which is not the big LA team.
But still,
this is random. Do you know any Clippers fans in California?
I do. My best friend is a Clippers fan.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yes.
I imagine there's far more Lakers fans, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
For good reason. I mean, the Clippers are the Clippers. So
how
does that work? Because, like, I know we're slightly getting off track. Because, like, the Jets and Giants is like two different areas of New York. The Chicago, the White Sox and the Cubs, it's like South Side versus Wrigleyville. How does that work in LA? Is there like a different part of LA that is Clippers fans? No.
Nope.
It's just not.
No,
well, they used to be in San Diego.
They did.
So are there any holdovers?
No, but that's the reason why I like the Clippers more than the Lakers. And also just because the Lakers fans are some of the most annoying ever.
There's nobody. There's no fans. Yeah.
No.
It's like there's Chargers fans still. There's definitely Padres fans. Are they Clippers fans? No.
Not
No,
really.
they weren't really
No.
here to begin with, really. Like,
Yeah, you know.
you
yeah.
might have had like that one guy who was like, "Hey, do you guys remember?" I could not tell you anybody who played for the San Diego Clippers.
I could not tell you either, actually.
I couldn't. They might not be real. Anyway,
Who knows?
James Harden. I mean, like, the same story with him. I saw something today. The trade talks go on for months, and it's just like, all right, like, honestly, just trade him to, like, I don't know, some team that I don't like. What's a team I don't like, Seth? I don't know, the Cavaliers. Trade him to the Cavaliers. You want to poison pill your team? Trade him to the Cavaliers.
Man, and Philly would win that trade just automatically because of
They would win
who's
the
on
trade because they get a
Cavaliers.
different player. Like,
That's true.
they get
With anybody.
somebody who is not James Harden. Like last week, I'm sure you saw the clip about Nick Maton and the negative war. Like, I feel like James Harden. I don't. Is there war in basketball? I don't think there is. There's win shares, but there's no war. I feel like
it's win
James
shares.
Harden in the playoffs is like Nick Maton. It would be better for you to have 4 guys on the court than to have James Harden. You might as well have the low man advantage, because even that will be better than the net negative you get from James Harden in the playoffs.
Correct.
That just makes
Or
me
at least
laugh.
I would guess. At least I would guess.
It makes me laugh. It
Yep.
makes me feel good inside.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad that's the
But
case.
you put in as well just general free agent talk, and I wanted to get your thoughts on just some of the things maybe the Bucks did. I saw they retained Chris Middleton. I think I also saw they just retained Drew Holiday. Did they let Brook Lopez? Yeah, they retained everybody.
To my knowledge, not everybody, but I mean, as far as the 2 guys that were in the starting lineup,
Right.
that were like, I don't know.
Well, Brook comes off the
Starters.
bench, right?
No, he starts. Brook
He
Lopez starts.
does.
He
You know what? I'm thinking in the championship team when PJ Tucker, I think he was a starter and Brook Lopez was off the bench. Or am I totally wrong? Am I just drunk?
You are drunk.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is always started. But
Well, I know that. The ring man, come.
Thank you, Lou.
Go. Yeah, no, Brook Lopez was injured for a big part of last season.
Okay.
So it's very possible in games that you saw when he wasn't playing, it's because he
you
had a back
some
injury.
other guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably Giannis was playing center. But anyway, yeah, they retained Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez. We got Chris Middleton on a better contract-ish, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper than, well, not a lot, but it's cheaper. And then I think as much as I do like Brook Lopez, I think it's a little bit of an overpay. But at the same time, who are we going to get that does what he does?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Probably not anyone.
the thing that I seem to notice in this free agency. There wasn't really a lot of player movement. At least not as much as people were expecting.
Yeah, and
A
so
lot of players just re-signed.
yeah, and then the other, like, we lost some of the guys like off the bench. Like, we lost Javon Carter, who is a point guard who played a little bit. But I mean, he's the name that comes to mind. But then, as far as guys that we brought in, we did bring back Robin Lopez. So we have the Lopez.
Is he
twins
related to
again.
Brook?
Yes.
Wait, wait, you said they're twins?
Yes.
So wait, you have Giannis's brother and you have Lopez's
Again.
brother. This is
Again.
like you have like this is like twin power, or what was the super twins?
Super
this
twins.
is before. Yeah, this is like the they're gonna
I've
do
heard
some.
of that. Yes.
This is like an old cartoon or something.
Maybe.
This is what
but
you guys have that.
This has happened twice now. We now have the Lopez twins and the Antetokounmpo twins. Oh, not
Now,
twins.
to be
but
fair,
brothers.
Giannis's brother not very good.
No.
Doesn't get a whole lot of minutes. I don't
More
know
of a
about
cheerleader.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Lopez's brother. I didn't even know he had a twin brother.
Yeah, Robin is, when he was in Milwaukee the first time, he was like, he came off the bench and he would be like a second or
Sorry, I
third
just looked
center.
at Robin Lopez. He just
And
looks
now-
like Brook Lopez with like an
With
afro wig.
big
like,
afro.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
pretty
what?
much.
It's like
Yeah.
the same person.
They
Okay.
sound the same. They're But
Okay.
we have them. And then
I mean, he seems like a depth guy. Obviously, he's not
He is.
particularly like,
He's gonna
crazy in
be-
terms of his scoring production, but
Mm-mm.
he played a lot of. I mean, last year he didn't really play a whole lot of games.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that's not really like he's a veteran of the league. He's somebody that you
Mhm.
can, add to a locker room. And obviously with his brother there, that's just kind of a cool thing. And I don't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you're paying him anything more than what a guy who averaged 3, 1, and a half an assist last year.
Yeah,
Like-
I I don't remember.
I don't
his
think you're giving him
contract,
the max
but,
deal.
No. But then we did lose Joe Ingles, who is a better shooter than Steph Curry. He's going to the Magic.
I'm sorry, did you say Steph or Seth?
No, Steph. He has proclaimed that. Have you not heard that Joe Ingles thinks he's the best shooter in the league?
I don't even know who Joe Ingles is.
Oh,
I've
well, then you're missing out.
I've never heard of this human being. Joe Ingles?
We retained Jay Crowder. I think that's a good pickup. And we got Malik Beasley from the Lakers.
Okay. I have heard of Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley is pretty good. He's a good role player.
Yeah. Also, just want to point out
Mhm.
Joe Ingles last year, 6, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
Was his.
Trust me, Mike.
So-
Go find the clip. I'm sure it's online of him saying
He looks like a
better than Steph.
janitor. Like, I
He's
mean, it's not like
Australian too.
he's been in the league for a
Mhm.
long time, I guess.
He's very old.
Okay. He played for
And-
Utah for a while.
Yeah, that was the team he played for the
So he
longest.
was already on the Bucks though, so you retained him.
No, we lost him. That's what I was just saying.
Oh, you lost him. Oh, okay.
He's
I was
going to
gonna
the
say.
Magic.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
They certainly know what they're doing down there.
That is true. He's
I
a
don't
veteran
even know. I
presence.
don't even know what to feel about the Magic. Because they had Paolo, and Paolo looks fantastic. But are they
mean,
gonna
they
ever take that step? I just don't really know.
We'll see.
Like,
We'll see how the young guys
they got
do.
they got Franz Wagner and his brother.
Yes.
They got the 2 German guys out of
They got Franz and Mo.
Michigan.
Yep, and then Cole Anthony is a good young
That's
point
right.
guard.
They got
Jalen
Cole
Suggs
Anthony.
is there. They have a lot
What's
of
his
young guys.
name? What's his name? The guy who has no foot. Is he ever gonna play again?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
The guy who has no foot. He's on the
It's like-
Magic?
Yeah, he like tore his ACL or something. Orlando Magic. Got their roster. I want their roster, please. Orlando Magic roster.
Uh-huh.
Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac.
Oh, Jonathan Isaac.
Does he have his foot back? Did he find it?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he's still hurt. I
I
feel like
think.
he's been
I
hurt
couldn't
for
tell
his
you.
entire
I'm
life. I don't
he's
know if they're.
Probably going to retire.
Yeah, I mean, he really never.
He's got a
I
lot
mean-
of money. So just
Yeah,
retire.
yeah. He only played 11 games last year, and he didn't
Mhm.
look great. So, yeah, he didn't. He missed 2 seasons because of that ACL tear.
Yep.
Well, that
That's
sucks
what
for
happens
him.
when you're 6'11" and you're skinny.
Yeah, I mean, he had the. He was moving in the right direction, which sucks.
Yeah, he had a very nice upside until his ACL decided to tear.
That's got to be the worst. I've never seen an ACL tear that was 2 seasons.
Well, it was.
Was
well,
it late 2020?
I think so, and I think what happened is that he might have,
Like
I think he re-aggravated it,
Mm.
and when he was doing the stuff to come back and ultimately play again, I think he re-aggravated it.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know,
I like
maybe-
Jonathan Isaac. He's a good player,
Well,
but
that's too bad for him.
yep.
Hope he finds his leg. That would be.
That'd be
I don't
cool.
know. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a leg.
I don't know either.
So it sounds like your Bucks have had a pretty okay offseason. They didn't make a big
It's-
splash, but they're
No.
basically running it back from the sounds of it. Which
Kind of like
I
they've been
mean-
doing for the past 2 years.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I don't really see a hole in the roster. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
depth wise, I
you
think
got a
we're
new coach
fine.
now. Like maybe
Yep.
we'll see if that changes the culture or the feeling about the team. But
Hopefully.
all right, you know. And meanwhile,
Mhm.
over in Detroit,
Yep.
the Pistons made 2 big moves.
Yes.
And by big moves, I mean
As big as you
moves
can
where
get
I
in
did not
Detroit.
identify the names of the players. I did not know they were real people.
Oh,
So the Pistons trade Joe Harris, and they also it was a little confusing. Some people thought we traded 2 second-round picks or second-round picks. We actually got the second-round picks. So
Oh.
we got Joe Harris and some second-round picks.
Very nice.
Joe Harris, who is on an expiring contract,
correct.
19 million, 20 million of dollars.
Mhm.
So that was our entire cap. We had about 30 million in cap or something.
Sure.
Because we're the Pistons and we didn't have a whole lot of people on massive deals,
Well, of
and
course not.
we said, you know what, we're just gonna eat that, and so we take Joe Harris, what's his name, Joe
Yep.
Harris,
Joe Harris.
and here's Joe Harris. I mean, the thing people were saying is, oh, he's a 40% three-point shooter. We need that. It's like, yeah,
He is.
we do, but also he had 7 points a game last year, guys. He was not
How much did he play though?
Played 74 games. He started 33 of them, averaged 20 minutes a game. So he wasn't like a starter, but
No.
I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't playing. And yeah, it's true. He is a career 40% three-point shooter, and obviously in today's league, you need a three-point shooter. If you can tell from the sound of my voice that I'm very underwhelmed by Joe Harris, it's because I am. And I wasn't expecting us to, actually go and get Draymond or any of these guys.
Well, of course not.
But I wasn't expecting us to just say, you know what, we're just taking a trade bait player. And then
that's it.
we go and we trade for Monty Morris. And this one, I guess I can understand some idea behind it. Like, for one, Monty Morris, he's from Flint, so he's a hometown kid. And he's not bad. He's not, like, amazing, but he's not, like, terrible. Like, he's like...
Yeah.
He's fine, I guess.
I think he's more of a veteran presence for your younger guards.
Right. Which is funny that he's like a veteran presence. He's only been in the league since 2017. Like he's not like amazing. But again, he's like about a 10 points a game guy.
We'll
Like
go veteran.
He's gonna be coming off the bench, and he's better than I was gonna say Alec Burks, but we actually re-signed Alec Burks, or we took his option. We didn't re-sign him. He's still gonna be on the team. Kevin Knox. He's probably better than Kevin Knox.
Probably the case. Yes.
Known draft bust for the New York Knicks, Kevin Knox. Didn't they take him
very early? He was a lottery pick.
Very early, and like
he's a lottery pick
available that year.
2017, I think.
Ooh, I don't know who was in that draft.
That 17 or 18.
If it was 18, that was the Zion draft, which had like Beal
I think it was the year before.
Now I gotta look this up.
I think it was 2017.
Kevin Knox draft. No, not draft suit. I just want his draft.
I think he was wearing a Fortnite suit.
He was picked number 9.
Yes, so he's a late lottery pick.
So let me see who is in this draft. This was the Marvin Bagley to the Kings draft. Oh, this was the Ayton Luka.
Yep,
okay.
Luka. Yep, Trae Young was in there.
Oh man, this is so tragic. It's like the next pick was Mikal Bridges. The next one, the one after that, was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The one after that was Miles Bridges.
Great player.
The next one after that, but like the 14th pick, was Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, good pick.
Ooh, and 19, Kevin Huerter. Ooh, they could have taken any of those guys, and they would have been better. And Kevin Huerter's not like great, but he's better than Kevin Knox.
He's a pretty damn good three-point
shooter.
He's the better
Kevin.
That's all I know.
He's the better Kevin.
Yep.
They could have also taken Landry Shamet.
Oh, Landry Shamet.
He was taken 26th overall in the first. This is why I don't want to get into NBA draft. This is why I just don't like the NBA draft is just nonsense to me. The 26th overall, but in the minds of NBA GMs, Landry Shamet was the 26th best player. I'm not gonna even go over his stats. I'm not even gonna do it. I won't. 8 points, 1 assist, or 2 assists, 1 rebound this year. Not even gonna go over his stats. He was an all rookie, believe it or not.
He played in Phoenix though, right? This year.
He did, but he was drafted by
I think the Clipper.
It was Philly, and then he played for the Clipper. Like he played for 2 teams his rookie year.
Okay.
Which is already a good sign. But yeah.
Oh, you got to think in Phoenix, he's not gonna do a whole lot
No.
with who's there.
Now he's on the Wizards. He was sent away with yeah, that was
And
in the
part of
Bradley Beal
that-
trade.
That's a 3-team trade.
Yeah. I think he was sent away in the Bradley Beal.
Oh no, that was just a 1-team trade because the
Yeah,
Wizards
'cause it was
had Chris Paul,
Beal to
Phoenix.
yeah, because that also included Chris Paul. And then
Yes.
they traded Chris Paul.
Yeah.
He was a Wizard for about a time.
He was.
But the other thing that is more recent that the Pistons did, and I sent this to you, the Pistons extend Isaiah Stewart to a 4-year, $64 million rookie contract extension. He gets the first non-max extension of the 2020 draft class. I'm assuming that means for us. I don't think that's totally true with everybody else in that class. Has Halliburton gotten an extension yet?
He has, and I think he did get the max.
Okay, well then maybe that's what it is. It's the first non-max extension of that total draft. Now, if you were to tell me that Isaiah Stewart was going to be the pick from the 2020 draft that was going to get an extension for the Pistons, I would have called you crazy. Lo and behold,
There we are now.
Slightly unrelated. This picture that Woj used for him, he is massive. I mean, he is a very muscular guy. Problem for Isaiah Stewart. I'm sorry. How do you spell Isaiah Stewart? Is it
You spell it Mr. Beef.
there it is. Isaiah Stewart. Problem for Isaiah Stewart is he is a center and he's 6'8". Not gonna work. Not it just those two things don't square. It'd be like if I were, a basketball player.
Pretty much.
Period. I'm 5'7".
Yeah.
I can't even, if I jump, I don't think I could hit the net. So not gonna work.
No.
Here's the thing, okay? Isaiah Stewart, he's coming off of the best year he's had in Detroit.
Yep.
He played about 30 minutes a game, 11 points, 8 boards, and an assist a game. That's not terrible numbers. He shot 32% from 3, not great.
It's better than Giannis, but
better than Giannis, but to be fair, he's like 3 inches shorter than Giannis.
Yeah.
So it's easier for him to arc the ball.
yes.
But see, I go back and forth, right? Because we got Monty Williams, and Monty Williams apparently likes Isaiah Stewart enough that he is like, yeah, we should keep this guy. Because obviously, it's not just Troy Weaver making these moves, it's the coach making these moves, it's the scouting team. It's even, I would imagine they might even consult some of the players. Like they might say, hey, Cade, what do you think about Isaiah Stewart? Do you like him? Because obviously Cade is, for as far as we're aware, he is prone to be the face of the team, right?
Yes.
First overall pick. He's probably going to get the rookie max, assuming he's not totally pedestrian next year.
Yep.
Which I doubt he will, because he looked really good up until he died. Rest in peace, Cade. He's back. He's fine.
And now he's dead.
That's right. Thank you, Steve. I think isn't that his name? It's the ESPN guy.
It's the ESPN guy, but I just know he's dead.
He's dead. So. But he's back. He's okay. And it's like, my thing is like, for one, this team makeup is already concerning because you have a lot of guards and a lot of centers, and then you got a lot of players that probably won't be here. And you got Bogdanovich, Joe Harris, and Monty Morris is a guard. So I was gonna say him, but he's a guard.
Yes.
And some people will say, "Well, it's positionless basketball. It doesn't matter. Positions don't matter." And okay, I want to think that's true. But the problem is we don't have what, say, the Warriors have, where Steph Curry is a 40%, basically 50% three-point shooter. And then you got Klay Thompson, who's very similar. And you have Draymond Green, who's a defensive wizard. We don't have any of those guys. We don't have any of those guys that have proven that is who they are. They could be that, I suppose. But we're putting a lot of hope into these draft prospects hitting. And look, I get it. That's what you got to do in the NBA. You got to hit on your draft picks. But it's really hard. That is it's a gamble. The NBA is the hardest sport to get out of the dirt because you need to hit. You need to hit on your draft pick, especially if you take first overall, right? Because that is, in theory, the easiest hitting spot. But
Mm-hmm.
I know there was a video that I believe it's Jimmy High Roller, I think is the name of the YouTuber.
I've heard of that
He
guy.
did a video about first overall picks and
Mm-hmm.
some of the hit rate on them and like who's won MVP, who's won Finals MVP. And it's actually somewhat concerning. But
Yep.
I mean, like, for the most part, with the obvious exceptions, first overall picks are not going to be bad players. Kwame
Correct.
Brown, Greg Oden without a knee. Yes, they didn't work.
Yes.
But for every one of those guys, you have LeBron, AD, Kyrie Irving, Zion Williamson when he's not, having sex with strippers. And like, it is like Hakeem Olajuwon was the first overall pick. Now, granted, he was taken before Michael Jordan, but nobody's gonna say Hakeem Olajuwon is a bad baseball player because Jordan was taken after. But I just like when I look at this signing, I'm just okay. Like, all right, if you believe in him, if Monty Williams believes in him,
Go for
if
it.
Troy Weaver believes in him, okay. I don't understand, and it is going to. It'll probably just come to fruition where it just reaches a boiling point where we're like, what do you see in any of these players? Like, do you know how to build a roster? Do you even know what you're doing? And I don't want it to come to that because when Troy Weaver got here, we were already in a bad place. We were already very stinky. And I don't want to be stinky and boring, which we were, but now we are much stinkier than we were.
Yes.
Like, we were middle of the pack before Weaver took over, and now we're bottom of the barrel and still stinky. So don't want that. And I'm hoping the best for these guys. I want them to succeed. I have a Cade Cunningham t-shirt, and I really don't want that to be like, Andre Drummond jerseys in this town. Like, people own them, but nobody wants to admit that they own them. Or
That's
like
true.
Thon Maker or whatever his name was. He sounds like a hockey player.
Well,
I don't like. Hold on, what am I looking at? I'm watching the All-Star game, by the way, and a bunch of kids just ran out. I thought they were the players. I was like, boy, they look really and it's no, those are little kids.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are children.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, he was an all rookie.
That doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. We just talked about how Mondre Shamet was an all rookie. And like, he's gonna have to not play center. He can't. He just can't. Like,
Power forward it is.
For one, Jalen Duren immediately looked like the better center. And Jalen Duren is like gonna be 4 years younger. Or actually, he just turned 22. I'm sorry. He turned 22 just this past May. So he's only 3 years older. But either way, Jalen Duren, much younger, far more upside, and just immediately looks like a better center.
Sure.
Don't know if James Wiseman is ever going to be anything other than a bench center.
Who knows?
And Marvin Bagley, we extended him, and it seemed like it might work out at the time, and then it did not because, as it turns out, Marvin Bagley is dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. He's dead.
And now he's dead.
Thank you, Steve. He is dead. I just, okay. Like, if you believe in Isaiah Stewart, then
go for it. I just say go for it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like,
why not?
I said in the text to you earlier today, like, we basically are putting like our hope in the fact that, remember that one time when he almost murdered LeBron? Like, I'm telling you, I know how a lot of Detroit sports fans act, and how they get emotionally manipulated, especially recently because we haven't had a winner in a long time.
Well,
and seeing somebody with that amount of passion is like, it's like we don't even know what that's like. Because the last time we were good, Andre Drummond was the best player on the team. And Andre Drummond is like the epitome of I don't want to be here. And I don't even want to get into the other teams.
I'll get you a rebound though, but I just want to be here.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. Did you see the video of him talking about how he was like he regrets like his actions? I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was trying to warn the kids, don't be like me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more, Andre. Don't be like Andre Drummond.
Well,
At least whatever.
Yeah.
I'm over Andre. But that's where we're at with the Pistons. We
Yep.
don't know anything about it's like all of the if Cade had played last year and we won 27 games, I think a lot of these moves people would be like, okay, well, I see they're not totally ready to compete. Maybe they're still trying to see where they can go, add some potential trade pieces to get some more in the war chest to maybe make a big trade, a la the Cavaliers and Donovan Mitchell, to really accelerate the team.
Mm-hmm.
But because we don't, because we won 17 games last year, and because we picked number 5 overall, it's difficult to really have a lot of confidence in
Well, sure.
in this situation because I don't even know if K can stay healthy. He's never played a full season.
Yeah.
So
It'll be interesting to see.
yeah, I don't know. Speaking of the NBA, I put this just in. Do we have to talk about the summer league, or are we just gonna? I don't, because I don't. The thing about the summer league is the only thing interesting that I thought happened in the summer league was Victor Wembanyama, and obviously his first performance was less than exciting.
But then
And then his second performance, he went and dropped 27 points, and then everyone's like, "Oh, okay, he's actually he's not."
oh, he's here.
Like the thing about it is like, and my brother pointed this out, and I agree with him totally. The thing you want to look at in the summer league is offense and effort. You do not want to look for defense because nobody's playing defense.
Mm-mm.
Like zero. Like they don't care. They're there. It's basically guys at the rec. They're not there to block shots. They're there to see how they can work with one another. They're testing things. You don't even have the actual head coach coaching them. You have one of the assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the players that are playing, unless you're talking about the Pistons, are not even going to be playing with the team. At least not in a starting role. It was kind of funny. I pointed this out to you as well in Texas. Like basically the starting 5 for the Pistons is just our starting 5 from last year.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, Cade did not play. So like, again, it's like, I can't use this against the team. But it's just kind of funny.
It's essentially the same.
I mean, like, as far as I don't know if you followed the Bucks summer league games, but like, I don't know, Jalen Duren looked pretty good. He had a couple of games where he was scoring 20 points. Jaden Ivey had a really good game as well. I think he scored like 24, 25, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, Oscar Thompson didn't look terrible.
That's good.
He looked fine. Marcus Sasser, I can't say that.
Yeah.
He didn't look great.
Well.
But like he wasn't like I'm whatever. Like it's like okay, whatever.
It is kind of a whatever. Summer league, I don't put too much stock into.
No,
personally.
and you know
that includes going for Victor Wembanyama as well. I don't put too much
yeah,
stock.
right. I mean, like his first game, the thing that I noticed that I was concerned about was his ability to not turn the ball over when he's pushing into the paint. And obviously, this is a thing when you're really tall, you're going to be dribbling. Inevitably, you're going to be dribbling
Much
the ball
higher.
through more air, right? There's going to be more ability for a player to just kind of swipe at it. So that means you have to have better handles. You have to be able to manage your dribble in such a way that you're not just going to get turned over every single time you push up against somebody.
Sure.
And he managed to do that in his second game. I don't have his box score in front of me, but he scored a lot of points. And he was making a lot of really nice passes, and he was getting blocks and getting like it was like, yeah, I mean, he's playing like a 7'5" Kevin Durant. Like he's playing like what he was put out to be. And my thing is like, I know there was like obviously the people who are, I don't even know if they were joking. I assume they were joking, but they were like, oh, he's a bust. And I'm just like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, you know, I was told that getting the number 1 overall pick doesn't matter. You just got to develop your players. San Antonio, just develop him. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, what was? I thought you had to. I thought the side. Other than that, I think that pretty much wraps NBA for like the next few months.
Essentially. Yep.
Which is funny because like a lot of our shows have been NBA centric, but I don't make the news cycle, folks. I don't know what you
No.
want from me.
Sorry,
So I want to maneuver on over to a little baseball. Very not briefly, I guess, but
let's keep it brief.
we got to talk some baseball because a lot of things have happened. I want to talk briefly about the Tigers combined no-hitter against the Blue Jays.
Well, of
I was at
course.
the game.
Yep.
For people who are interested,
I did get a video. Yep.
I was at the game. I wish I would have uploaded the video to my computer so I could put it. Oh, I'm sorry, microphone. I wish I would have uploaded the video to my computer so I could show it. I have the video. I can attest. I have my Riley Green bobblehead over there. You can't see it, but it is over there. It's proof that I went to the game.
It is. There.
I thought it was kind of cool. I think. Let me see. I linked some tweet. I don't remember what this is. Oh yeah. So there was a funny stat about it that I also sent to Seth.
Yes.
The Tigers, according to Opta Stats on Twitter, are the second team in MLB history to allow at least a dozen runs in one game and then no hit that same team in the very next game. Do you know who the other team was?
I don't.
I would hope not, because they were not around when you were born. That would be the 1893 Baltimore Orioles, who allowed 14 runs to Washington on August 15th before a Bill Hawk no-hit the next day. 1893 was the last time what we did happen.
Well,
and I said this is the most
something.
it is the most Tiger stat ever to get blown out and then the next game pitch a masterclass.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that game, for anybody who was there or even anybody who watched, it got rain delayed. The game originally was supposed to start at I think 1:10. Okay, actually, let me start over because this is a whole ordeal with this game. So there's a tradition. Myself, my father, my grandfather. We hadn't gone to a Tiger game in a very long time for obvious reasons. But we decided we were going to do it now because, whatever.
Yeah,
we're all kind of interested in the Tigers. They're not very good, but hey, we'll go because it's a thing to do in the summertime. And so we decide on this particular game, and that morning or like that day, the day before, the forecast was like, oh, it's supposed to rain the next day. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll still go. Like, we'll still see if they play the game.
Of course.
So we get there and it's, it starts, we feel like we're at the gates. And one of the things we do, and that we did is my grandfather would go to a local Italian like bakery, I think. I don't know what to call it. I guess I could shout it out if anybody is in the area. It's Bommaritos. It's a local business in the Metro Detroit area. Just Google Bommaritos if you're from the east side of the state. Go give them your business. Don't tell them Mike sent you because they would not know who I am.
No.
I guess, yeah. But we get subs from there. What we would do is we go into the game, and he would also get a bag of peanuts from Nino Salvaggio's, which is another local, like basically an Italian grocery store in the greater Metro Detroit area. And we've been doing this. We done this several times. We go, and then we get today that game. We get to the gate. We get there. The security lady's like, "Oh, what's in the bag?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just sandwiches and peanuts." And she's like, "Oh, you can't bring that in." And I was just like, "What? We've been doing like however many times we've been doing this." And it was just like we're like standing there, and there's a metal detector, and there's a bunch of people behind us, and a lot of them are Blue Jays fans, and like we're like the only Tigers fans.
Well,
because apparently all the Toronto Blue Jays fans came to Detroit that day, and we're like, shoot, what do we do? But long story short, my grandpa was able to find a place where he could keep the sandwiches. I got this is the amazing skill of my grandfather. He was able to get a local bar to hold on to our sandwiches and like put them in a fridge or something. So I was like, oh, okay, great. That's sweet. And then we could just go and get them after the game. But at that point, it started raining. I was like upset because it was like, oh man, we were gonna have our sandwiches, and now it's raining, and the game might not happen. And we spent all this time. I've been looking forward to this all week. And we get there, and we're all kind of upset. We're getting wet because it's raining. We're trying to find a place to go. So we go to one of these like local in the park, like a restaurant inside the park.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just waiting there, and the game's been delayed and everything. And then eventually it's like, oh, the delay is over. The game will be starting at like 2:20 or something like that. And so we go to get to our seats, and it starts raining again. No, at that point they don't delay. So they're just playing through the rain. Now I'm sitting there and I'm getting like drenched essentially in the rain. And I'm just like, oh, this is like terrible. Like I'm just like, I'm focused on the game, so I'm not really like upset about the rain, but I am like, I know that
Just
like
subconsciously.
afterwards, if it were to still rain and I just like were to leave, it would be terrible. And then like it starts, and the first hitter is hit by a pitch, so it's like, oh, well, that's great. And then I believe it was another walk, and so you got 2 men on and nobody out, and I'm just like, oh, great, here comes another masterclass from Matt Manning. I'm so glad that we managed to choose this game after all these things have gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he gets out of it without giving up the run, and eventually the rain stops, and sun starts shining. The Tigers are up 2-0. We get to about the 6th, and we're like, oh my gosh, he's pitching a no-hitter. But we're not saying anything, right? Like,
You have to
he's
think
pitching.
You can't
He's
say it.
pitching a really good game. We're not gonna say the words no-hitter.
You just think it.
Right, and then
That's it.
eventually he does pitch the no-hitter, and it was amazing. I've never seen a no-hitter. Neither my grandfather or my father had seen a no-hitter live, so it was a really cool thing. And then they ended up blowing the game the next day. So that it was like a real punch in the gut the very next day when you were like, oh yeah, maybe we can beat the Blue Jays. No, we cannot beat the Blue Jays.
No.
So yeah. And that was basically the experience of the Tigers this year.
Yep.
Giving you some hope, and then punching you in the stomach. It's a reality punch though. It's not like a you should know better punch. It's like a, hey, by the way, guys, we kind of suck. We kind of have like the third
Allow us
worst
to show you
offense in the league, and we have a bunch of randos as starting pitchers. Granted, some of them are coming back. Some of our actual good starting pitchers are coming back, but things, right? Things.
Things.
And
many things.
I would say, like, right now where the Tigers stand, I guess I'm indifferent to anybody that's on this team. With the exception, I guess, of like Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, because they're like young and team control and all that. But everybody else can get traded. I really don't. I don't really. Yeah, I guess if you want to trade them and you can get a package, then fine.
Go for it.
I just, they're not very good yet. No. Somehow they're not totally out of the division race.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't.
It's just meh,
I mean, it's like they're playing about how I expected them to play, and
you can't go wrong with that.
I look to Green and Torkelson to see if they make improvements, and both of them have improved from last year. Granted, not that hard because they were very not good last year. But I hope that the improvement continues, and maybe they can be something of a future here. But I can't really say that for certain.
Yep.
However, we have another team on this show.
Don't say it.
And that is the team that plays in San Diego.
Nope.
And I don't know what their exact record is.
Don't look at it.
I'm gonna go find it. Right. Where's the MLB.com? There it is. So the team that plays in San Diego that will not be named. So they spent a lot of money. Didn't they? They spent a lot of money. Okay. Now that's strange because Because when you look at the number, is this last year? Nope, this is 2023.
Yeah.
Is everything okay? The Padres, Seth? What's going on in Slam Diego? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I got no words for it. But when I look at this record, and I look at where we're at in the NL West, I think to myself, wow, this is my baseball team. A team that on paper should be one of the best in the entire MLB.
Yeah.
And yet, we're at the almost complete opposite end of that.
Ow! Ow!
Exactly.
I mean, it's like,
That's me.
yeah.
Every day. Like,
Now, to be fair, they did win 2 in a row going into the break. So maybe
There
they're
you go.
getting hot.
uh,
It would take nothing short of a miracle for them to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Because
At this
they're
point.
6 games out of the wild card. They're
Yep.
8.5 out of the division. So that's, I mean, you're pretty much out when you're 8.5 out after the All-Star break. I know somebody's gonna find some, team that managed to come back.
Well, of course.
But like, for the most part, you need to assume that your only shot to make the playoffs is the wild card. And
Which is how it was last year.
yeah, I mean, like, they
But-
have a positive run differential. Like,
Yes,
it
they do.
it doesn't. It is confusing why they are bad. 'Cause
Trust me.
last year
I'm
they were good.
Majorly confused. Yep.
And they went out and they got better players. They got
Mhm.
more players.
Yes.
And I just don't know.
I couldn't tell you, and I don't know if it's just like a fluke year or something.
I mean,
But we did get better players, and they're not playing like better players. That's all I know.
yeah, I mean, like, you have a very poor team batting average.
Correct.
Among qualified batters,
Mm-hmm.
you have nobody batting 300.
Yeah. Everyone is
And-
below 300, which is insane.
You have just 3 qualified batters batting above 260.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the usual suspects. It's Machado, Soto, and Tatis.
Yep.
And I mean, I can't really be upset with any of them. I mean, sure, Machado is not having an amazing year, and neither is Soto, at least relative to his average. But he's still a 900 OPS player.
Yes.
And Tatis is still very close to 300, but not quite at 300. And
Yeah.
he's also basically not, like, I can't be mad at those guys.
No.
I can, however, be mad at
Say the name.
Xander Bogaerts, who
There you go.
has very much underperformed.
Yes.
And even still, it's kind of funny looking at some of these stats because, like, his underperforming would make him one of our better hitters. But yet, we're
He
not that far
is-
behind you in terms of our record. And it's like you went out and you got this guy, and he has yet to hit a triple all year.
Yep.
If you want to take that anything, he's hit 10 home runs
Mhm.
in the first half. Like, in Slam Diego. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know the dimensions of Petco Park, but I'm pretty sure it's not like a hitter unfriendly ballpark. It's not like super deep. Am
It's
I
not.
wrong? Okay.
It's not.
So you should be
I
getting a
don't-
lot of home runs.
Yeah, you should, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head either, but you
Right.
definitely should.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like Comerica. Comerica Park is like super deep.
Yeah, it's not.
But
I'd
you're
say
also
it's about
playing
average.
I mean, they're playing in a tough division, so it's a really poor combination. But I think what really is so sad is you had a team like the Diamondbacks come out of nowhere, right? And they look like one of the better teams in the National League. They could be going to the World
Mhm.
Series.
Yep.
And they didn't spend a lot of money.
Mm-mm.
They really didn't do much of anything, to my knowledge, during the offseason.
They just kind of
They
came
just
out. They just played baseball.
Well, you know what it is? They had players that they drafted, that they
Mhm.
developed, that came up and are tearing it up. You got Corbin Carroll. You got Zach Gallen pitching. He's pitching in the All-Star game today.
Mhm.
And I look at if I just look at the roster,
Yeah.
for the Padres. I think did you draft Manny Machado? Or I don't think so. For some reason I feel like you got him in free agency at some point. I know you just
Mm,
extended him. Maybe you did. So
I
Fernando
think
and
we did.
Machado. I'm just gonna assume Fernando and Machado,
Mhm.
but I mean, I know you didn't draft Juan Soto.
No.
I know you didn't draft Xander Bogaerts. I think you drafted Ha-Sung Kim,
Yes.
or maybe he's a Japanese player, so or Asian player. I don't know if he's Japanese. I'm sorry. I don't know if that was that racist.
That's Mr.
Did I
San
do-
Diego you're talking about.
Did I do a racism?
Might
Accident?
maybe.
I don't know his ethnic background. I know that he was not. I don't think he was drafted. I'm pretty sure you got him in a. He's Korean. That's what I said.
Also,
Jake-
Manny Machado drafted by the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay, so you must have traded for him.
Yes.
At some point. Okay. But then you got, even to the depth here, you got Gary Sanchez, not good. Nelson Cruz, who just got DFA'd. Matt Carpenter, who is
He's got a sick
playing
mustache.
terrible. He's I mean, I'm looking at the guys who get most, like, who's playing the most games. So
Machado,
even
Soto.
yeah, it's Soto,
Ha-Seong
Cronenworth,
Kim.
Cronenworth, who has been terrible this year.
Yeah.
And
He swings at literally everything.
the problem is, it'd be one thing if Cronenworth were, I don't know, your catcher, right? If your catcher's not hitting that well, who cares? He's your
But-
catcher. He's really there to, frame pitches, stop stolen bases, stuff like that. Jake Cronenworth is your first baseman. Your first baseman is supposed to be one of, if not your best hitter, especially for power. Think Miguel Cabrera, Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson. These are the names of first basemen that you're sort of looking towards. Pete
And then we got Jake
Alonso.
Cronenworth.
And you have Jake Cronenworth, who has hit 8 home runs
Mhm.
and has struck
What's-
out 74 times.
Yeah, what's his batting average, Mike? Why don't you just throw that out there?
217. He's got a 679 OPS. And
Mhm.
he's having a worse year this year than Spencer Torkelson, who is not that great this year for the Tigers. Spencer Torkelson's hit 12 home runs. He's hit 4 more home runs than Jake Cronenworth has.
Mhm.
And Jake Cronenworth, this seems very uncharacteristic of him to me. I'm pretty sure he's been a decent ball player in his career.
Yep. He was
Like,
decent
not
last year.
terrible, but or not like amazing, but not terrible.
He's pretty good
Um,
last year. So
Yeah, last year he was fine. He wasn't amazing, but he was fine. He hit 17 home runs. I mean, maybe he hits that next year. 2021, he was really good. 21 home runs, 266 average, 800 OPS.
Oh, yeah.
And basically since then, he's been
it's a decline.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just don't know. And then I don't really even know what's going on with the pitching staff. I can't imagine it's like amazing.
Josh Hader, the closing pitcher, is like the only pitcher. Well, Yu Darvish is, I like Yu Darvish.
Yeah, and
but
Blake Snell's having a good year, but Yu Darvish is not. I mean, he's close to
He's
a
not.
5 ERA this year, and
Blake Snell is probably our best pitcher as far
Yeah,
as except
Snell,
for Josh
I mean,
Hader.
Snell is having a fantastic year.
Mhm.
But then, I mean, and Michael Wacha as well. Like,
Yeah, Walker's
and
having a
like
good
you
year.
said, Hader. Like, you have a good assortment. Like, my general rule with pitching, and I've learned this just semi recently. You pretty much only need like 2 really good starting pitchers.
Mhm.
Like, if you have 2 good starting pitchers,
You can kinda-
okay, you could pretty much cruise. Then you have maybe some guys
flip-flop.
who maybe sometimes will give you a good start, and maybe they'll give you a not so good start, but your hitting is going to be there to where you can stay in the game.
well,
And unfortunately, you don't have the hitting. You
No.
probably have the pitching. You probably
Yes.
have Snell and Wacha, who right now this year are having pretty
Are-
good years.
yeah.
And then you have a good closer in Hader.
Yes.
Who's bounced back from last year with the Padres, where he was kind of hit or miss with whether or not he would have a good game, which I love to see. I like Josh Hader,
Mhm.
and it's just like I cannot understand this team. Like
I
it's
couldn't
it's
tell you
like
either.
it's like the Mets, but like the Mets is kind of funny, like in a cruel way.
I can
because
laugh
it's
at
like,
the Mets. Yeah.
Well, because it's like it's a New York team, and like
yeah.
what's his name? The owner is Cohen is this like super big character, and he's like all over everybody knows who he is. He's constantly talking to the media and
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
And they went out and they spent more than any other team ever. And to see that just fall flat on his face is kind of hysterical.
Yeah.
With the Padres, it's not like I can look at them and be like, oh, like, you know, those fans are. It's like the Padres are the Padres. Like, they've been a team for a long time. They've never won.
Yeah.
And they just. It's sadder to me to see them fail. And maybe I'm biased because I got you and I think of you when the Padres are doing bad. And so it's like, you're my only experience with Padres fans generally. There's not a whole lot of Padres fans in the east side of Detroit.
No, not really, no.
So I mean, it's really sad, but like, you could have a crazy trade deadline. You could come back after the All-Star break and
when Shohei Ohtani joins the Padres.
That's right. Like, I mean,
I don't know.
The thing,
it's
right?
possible. It's a possibility. I get it, but
you're only 4 games out of 500. So
I don't even like hearing that.
Right. I mean, like,
that
you
and
still have another 80 some games to play. And
it's possible we turn it around, absolutely, but it is at best probably the
you need to play better on the road for sure. 18
Yeah.
and 24 on the road, 25 and 23 at home, which is not great, but at least you're winning more at home than you are.
We're above 500 there.
Yeah. And you're certainly not going to end up in last place because Colorado is doing short work of that. So you have that. But San Francisco has managed to remain an interesting wild card team. We already talked about Arizona. LA is LA. But right now, I mean, you're going to be, because realistically, you're probably shooting for the wild card. And there's no shame in that. I mean,
it worked well for us last year.
Well, it's like hockey. It's like just make the playoffs, and then anything can happen.
Then you're good.
So, you know, you're going to be competing with teams like the Brewers or maybe the Cubs or the Phillies.
Yep.
Or maybe the Mets. But like, it's pretty much like Milwaukee or I guess technically Arizona and San Francisco. But the problem is they're in your division. So it's like, if you're not beating them, well, you're already in a bad spot. So you pretty much, for one, obviously you got to beat the Brewers when you play them, and you got to beat the Phillies when you play them.
Yep.
If you haven't already played them, I don't know if you played them yet.
That's a great question, and I couldn't tell you.
And the other teams are in your division, so you have to start winning in your division. And if the hitting doesn't pick it up, you're going to be sitting at 5-6 games out of 500 at the end of the year, and it's going to be a total waste of a season.
Yep.
And I don't even know what you do to fix it. I guess you just run it back? Like,
essentially,
that's
probably.
That's really so.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to. Okay. Let's move on from MLB. I'm done being sad for the rest of the show.
Let's move on. Okay. So, do you want to look at these NFL power rankings? These way too early 2023 power rankings.
Absolutely. Allow me to.
This is going to be blind to me. I want you. Could you read these off? And I'm going to give my live reaction. I'm not even going to look at this. Okay. I don't want to give ESPN the pleasure.
No, of course not.
Right now, we're looking at NFL power rankings. You already listed where the Lions and where the Chargers end up. So we'll just get those out of the way right now. The Chargers were listed at number 9, and the Lions were listed at number 13.
Correct.
And the Chargers I can understand to an extent. The Lions, it's difficult. Because I think the Lions, as far as where they're positioned, I think they could be one of the best teams in the NFC. And maybe that's bold. Maybe that's Lions fan bias. But like,
maybe.
I look at the NFC. I look at the other divisions, right? I look at the South. I look at the East. I look at the West. And I'm like, okay, well, of those 3 divisions, there's San Fran, there's Seattle, although I'm not that confident in them this year. And then Dallas, Philly.
The Cowboys are going to be the Cowboys. Philly is probably,
Philly, maybe. But, the thing is, though, I think we haven't seen Jalen Hurts do it again, so to speak. And I don't really like to do that with players because it can be sort of unfair. But, I mean, he had 1 year. And so is that a proven is Jalen Hurts even proven? I mean, I think so, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then I just look at us and it's like, yeah, like I think we would fit in with those teams. I think for one, we almost beat the Eagles. And I know almost only counts in orders and hand grenades, but we did almost beat the Eagles.
Mhm.
And the Cowboys, again, we probably should have beaten them. The final score of that game did not indicate how close that game was. Um, the 49ers, we didn't play, so I
Mhm.
can't speak to that.
Yep.
The Seahawks, we absolutely should have won that game. Literally did not give up a single. We didn't stop them once.
Yep.
And if we did stop them once, we would have won the game because we scored pretty much every offensive drive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think like I don't know where they would end up in the numbers. I guess I would have to hear some of the teams that were ahead of them and then go from there.
Mhm.
But we'll get to that. As it stands, I'm not like horribly offended because obviously the Lions were just 9-8 last year. That's not like amazing, but they're on an upward trajectory. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFC. I don't know if they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFL writ large. I wouldn't
Mhm.
be like utterly shocked if that's the case because if the coaching staff and if Brad Holmes is for real, then we will be. Like I think that's something that some Lions fans have this aversion to like attribute any level of success to this team. I got to deal with fans, quote unquote, of this team who are like, "Oh, we're going to go like 8-9 next year." It's like, what? Did we even watch the same team? It's like I don't know. People in the city love to be miserable. So, you know what?
Yeah,
Go
well,
be miserable.
good.
But let's see. Number 32. Who's the worst team according to ESPN?
So we're going all the way down.
To the bottom.
Let's see. Who do you think it is? Just throw out a team who you think would be ranked 32nd of 32.
I'm thinking Arizona.
Correct.
Wow,
Arizona
look at me.
Cardinals
I'm
at
so good.
32.
Yeah.
Number 31.
Mm.
Houston Texans.
Yeah. I think to briefly talk about both these teams. So the Arizona situation, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Kyler Murray is dead, so they're certainly not going to be good. And I also don't really like Kyler Murray as a quarterback. So like,
Well,
and you're going to be losing his best weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. So
yeah.
they're in a really bad spot. They're losing all their players,
Mhm.
and they don't really have a direction right now.
Yes.
As far as the Texans, I'll be the first to admit I don't like CJ Stroud. I just don't. Every time I watched CJ Stroud in college, which was limited, granted, he did not show up and his team did not win. And you can say that's not his fault, and you can say all these things, but fact of the matter is, he laid an egg playing Michigan the first time in the snow. Well, in the snow. It was flurries.
Eh,
And then the year after, he had a better game, but he still did not play. You know, he still did not win. Right, the team did not win,
mhm.
and he also, by the way, had probably one of the most loaded wide receiver rooms in college football.
One of, if not the best wide receiver.
So,
room.
like, he's going to be going from that to Houston, who I don't think I could name a wide receiver on Houston.
I couldn't either.
So, okay. And I know that people get upset, but Ohio State quarterback, there has not been a single one since I've been alive who has worked on the NFL. That organization, that system has yet to prove to me that they can produce an NFL quality quarterback. It just hasn't happened. And that's not really his fault, but it is just how I feel. I don't trust them coming out of the gate. And I don't know how big he is. I know what's his name, the other one, Bryce Young, is pretty undersized. And we'll get to him wherever they land the Carolina Panthers. But no, I don't really trust the Texans. I think their defense could be interesting because Will Anderson is just that good.
Yeah.
But they're going to be playing against a Jaguars team that is probably going to win that division again. And Trevor Lawrence is going to look, I think, really good next year. And the rest of the teams in that division, I don't know. The Colts and the Titans are going to be fighting for third place.
Pretty much.
So, yeah. So,
All right.
what do we got? 30.
Number 30. We're going down to Florida for this one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. They
Yep.
got them really low.
They do.
Okay. Well, they're in a pretty bad spot because they've had to adopt to Baker Mayfield from Tom Brady.
Mhm.
Now, granted, last year Tom Brady was very bad, but they still have theoretically some players that are interesting there. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Leonard Fournette.
Mhm.
So hmm, I mean, I don't think they will win that division, but I think they could be like I don't know, like a 7 or 8 win team. Like potential. I think
I
that's
could
their
see it.
upside. I
I
think
think
that's the
so. I
high
could see
because
it.
like Baker Mayfield is a difficult case because on the one hand, Baker Mayfield did not look good last year,
Mhm.
and he did not look good the year prior. On the other hand, the year like 2 years ago, he was playing hurt, and this year he was basically on a QB carousel. He was playing for teams that were not very good, and he was not really guaranteed a starting position at any of those jobs.
Correct.
Um, the one game or the one team he looked good for was the Rams, and they didn't even keep him along. So
Yeah.
that shows you how much confidence they have in him.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. His career has just sort of careened into nothingness. After the
Essentially
2020
so.
season with the Browns, people thought, maybe he would be the QB to save Cleveland, but he has not been that guy. He just has
Nope.
not. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm surprised they got him that low though. I would think they'd be a little bit higher, but
Yep.
we'll see. What's
Well,
next?
number 29, the Indianapolis Colts.
Now this I agree with. I don't know what the Colts are doing. This is a
Most people
team
don't.
right
They did get
now.
Anthony Richardson,
They
but
got Anthony Richardson, but I don't even see. I think I don't know what it is. People for some reason were really high on this QB class. I really was not.
Mm.
None of these quarterbacks to me scream like generational talent.
sure.
AR-15 is an interesting prospect because he can throw the ball really hard.
Yep.
But newsflash, you have to throw the ball to somebody. It's not like you just throw it through the uprights. And for one, he's probably not going to play all year because you have Gardner Minshew now.
Mhm.
And I guess the only interesting thing about them is they do still have what's his name? Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
So if he has a bounce back year, they could be an interesting team offensively. Defensively, though, they're bad. And their O-line looked terrible last year. Maybe it bounces back, but I mean, the Colts really disappointed last year where you thought maybe they could be a sneaky wild card team with the veteran Matt Ryan, but he was clearly washed and the O-line was
Mhm.
bad and the run game was bad and the defense was bad. Everything was bad about the Colts last
Yes.
year. And now they're running it back with new quarterbacks who are both kind of like Gardner Minshew is probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in football.
Yeah.
Especially just as a presence. Like I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for him.
Mhm.
And he's not. I mean, obviously he's not, a top quarterback in the league, but he's not
But
like he's
yeah.
again. He's like a Teddy Bridgewater quality backup. Like
Mhm.
he was a first round pick. So or
Yes.
was it? He was, wasn't he?
I think so.
I think he was. I know Bridgewater was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand. Yeah, 29. Yeah, bottom of the barrel, pretty much. So yeah, who's next?
We're going over to the great state of Tennessee.
Hmm.
For the Titans are at 28.
Yeah, this is a tough one for our Tennessee Titans friends, our fans, all those fans down in Nashville, because this is a team that put a lot of its eggs in one basket, and that name was Derrick Henry. And this is not 1993. You can't put your eggs into the basket of running backs in a passing
Unfortunately
league.
not.
You can't do it. And Derrick Henry, when he was prime Henry, he was pretty much unstoppable. It was
Yep.
like you hand him the ball and he's getting 15 yards. And maybe he still is that guy, but Tannehill has regressed.
Mhm.
The whole rest of the team, I don't even know. Like I mean, they completely fell apart last year. They fell apart the year before to the Bengals in the playoffs. This is a team that I think could be careening out of relevancy. Like potentially hot take, they could be competing for the number 1 overall pick. They really could. Assuming Will Levis is not actually good. I just don't really see the potential. I just don't really see where this team is going.
Mm.
Derrick Henry could get traded at the deadline. He could get
Maybe.
traded. Like
Yeah.
I could see a team being interested in him, at least for a half of a season.
Mhm.
But Yeah, I just don't really have a whole lot of confidence in this Titans team. I think they're going to be a bottom of the barrel team.
Yep. Number 27,
Hmm.
the Chicago Bears.
This one I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with because Bears fans have become, in my mind, just some of the strangest confident people for a
Yep.
team that won 3 games last year.
Yeah.
Okay? Like all of the sudden Justin Fields is your quarterback.
Well, he's
Guys,
a running back.
well, yeah, guys, you won 3 games with Justin Fields. And I don't want to hear, "Oh, well, look at have you seen him run though?" Yeah, that's great. Did you see how he played in Ford Field last year? Not good. He was awful passing. He couldn't run for his life. He is just again, Ohio State quarterback. I don't trust him. I don't know that like if you think that DJ Moore is going to suddenly fix his wide receiver woes, guys, if you're a decent quarterback, you can throw to pretty much anybody. Last year, Jared Goff was throwing passes to Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, and Timbuktu. And we won 3 games, granted, but nobody was like down the stretch. Jared Goff was certainly not the reason why we were losing games, right? And you saw last year. I mean, it's not like Jared Goff has the most elite passing room ever, but he's not throwing interceptions and he's not just running around like a maniac trying to be a miracle worker and then fumbling the ball. And Aiden Hutchinson just picked it up and the Lions drive down for a touchdown.
Exactly.
I think anybody who watched the Bears last year can see that this is probably going to be, at most, maybe a 9-win team because they're playing in the NFC North, which has the Packers, who are probably not. We don't know anything about the Packers, and
It's true.
the Vikings are probably going to regress. So I could see the Bears splitting with them, and the NFC generally is kind of weak. But
It is
the Bears
true.
are a part of that weakness, and I just don't really trust in Justin Fields. I don't think he's a good quarterback, and I think by this time next year, that'll be very clear to people. And I don't know. It's like this weird. I don't get it. Like he wasn't good his rookie year. He wasn't really that good last year. I just don't understand. Help me out. Like what? Am
I don't
missing
think I
something?
can. No, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Okay. What do we got next?
We're heading down to Georgia, more specifically Atlanta, Georgia,
Ooh,
and the Atlanta Falcons.
this is an interesting one. I think Atlanta is a sneaky team.
Mm.
I don't think people should underestimate Atlanta.
Mm.
Atlanta had one of the best running games last year in football, and they added Bijan, who, by the way, I'm pretty sure he's pretty fast. That
He is.
was the big thing about Bijan. He's pretty
He's very
fast.
fast. Yep.
Now, they are putting a lot of hope into Desmond Ritter. I don't know that I believe in Desmond Ritter because Desmond Ritter hasn't shown me anything. And again, I also don't know anything about their defense. I don't know if it was that good.
I don't believe it was.
They did make the Carolina Panthers look like, the greatest show on turf, but then again, so did the Lions. But we had a bad defense. That's sort of our point. That's sort of my point. And so my instinct says this is a team that probably makes the playoffs just because they're in a bad division. So they could win that division. But I don't really see them as like a top of the line team. I think I see them as a slightly above average team. Maybe a fun team because they're going to have a pretty good run game, assuming that the rest of their backs don't just totally regress.
Sure.
But I just don't really see what direction they're moving in. I think they think that they're closer to contention than they actually are. And teams that think that are usually in bad spots.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
do we got?
25.
25.
Heading out to my neck of the woods,
Ooh.
the Los Angeles Rams.
Now this is fascinating because the Rams just 2 years ago, Super Bowl champions, and now 2 years later are a team that is in just a free fall. Like to the point where you are like you don't understand what direction they're moving in. They obviously have no draft capital to dig themselves out of it.
Yep.
At least not immediately. So you would imagine this is probably a team that's going to be interested in selling somebody. I don't think they're going to trade Stafford because they just extended him.
That's true.
And they did draft the 40-year-old from Georgia. What's his name? The quarterback.
You know it.
Oh, shoot. What was
Starts
his
with
name?
starts with an S.
Stetson Bennett.
There you go.
Bennett. They just drafted him. So, I mean, maybe he's I don't think they think that he's like the solution, so to speak. But I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Donald is he still on the team? Or what's his deal? I wouldn't be
Yep.
surprised if he's traded uh by the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if well they already traded Jalen Ramsey. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper Kupp moves. If they're that bad, if like Stafford either A can't stay healthy or B is just bad. Like I think people
Yeah.
forget this. He was not good when he was playing last year.
Yeah.
And you could say he was playing hurt, but look, he's in the worst half of 30. And so I don't imagine he's going to get any better.
Mm-mm.
So I don't see this working out very well for the Rams. I could see where ESPN is coming from putting them that low.
Okay. 24. Washington Commanders.
I feel nothing about the Commanders.
Okay.
I like
That's
Chase
fine.
Young, they declined his option, so I don't they don't want him who when he was playing was really good, but can't stay healthy because that turf is awful.
Mhm.
And they're going through this ownership change, which is already a sense of turmoil. They have Sam Howell as their starting quarterback. Ron Van down by the Rivera is like he doesn't his job security has got to feel not so great.
It's iffy. Yeah.
And I don't really trust them. I don't. And the Commanders, I mean, they're not even they don't even have the right to that name. So they're the Washington team name pending right now. So wouldn't it be kind of
It'd be cool if
be
they
kinda-
just changed again.
yeah, wouldn't it be funny if they just go back to the Redskins?
I would love
They're just
that.
like, you know what, guys, it was fun, but we're gonna be the Redskins again.
It'll never be like that again.
They're not gonna do it, but
No,
it
it'd
would
be cool if
kinda
they did.
funny. I think it would be funny. I would laugh. I would just like.
I think a
it'd be
lot of
just-
people would.
I think it would be just a saga in the
Yeah.
NFL, right? Of like,
Yep.
remember that time when Washington stopped being the Redskins and then they were the Commanders, but before that they were the football team. And announcers had to, with very serious voices, say the Washington football team.
Yeah.
The irony is that team made the playoffs. In the
That's-
history books, it
Yep.
will say
The
Washington football team was in the playoffs in the 2020 NFL season. What a weird
Yep.
year that was. But yeah, Washington is a
was.
nothing burger. I don't trust them. I don't trust Sam Howell. He was not good in college. He had one good year in college and then he just totally fell off.
Yep.
So I got no reason to believe in him. And I got no reason to believe in Washington.
Perfect. Number 23. The Denver Donkeys. Sorry, Broncos.
Well, that's no reason. That's no way to talk about Russell Wilson. I'm
Oh.
honestly surprised they have this team this low. I feel like there's like a sense that this team is going to be much better this year. I don't know that I believe it because I don't know if this is new, but all of a sudden I started hearing recently about how Russell Wilson was totally out of shape last year. I'm not really sure where that's coming from. I don't remember that being a thing. I remember him looking bad. I remember him playing bad, but all of a sudden it seems like some revisionist history about like, oh, he was actually out of shape last year. I was like, I don't remember that being the knock on him.
I don't
remember,
remember that
like,
either.
So I don't know. I mean, if he comes back and he's an average quarterback, I suppose they're going to be better, but
Yeah.
they're also playing in one of the toughest divisions against two very good quarterbacks in Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to have to play them 2 times this year. So that's pretty much, I would imagine, at least 3 to 4 losses, right?
Yep.
You would think. And I don't know if Sean Payton is the guy. And I like Sean Payton. He obviously has a good resume with football, but
Yeah.
the thing that kind of makes me pull the brakes a little bit is, well, after that Super Bowl win with the Saints, kind of didn't really do much.
Not a whole lot. No.
There was a lot of underachieving,
Yep,
and
definitely a lot of
those
that.
were some really good teams that he had, like up until at least 2018. And some of it was his fault, some of it wasn't. But look, he retired and he's coming back to do this, so he must feel some level of confidence to,
Yep.
join in on the Denver Broncos fun, but
We'll see.
yeah, I just don't really know where they stand on these things.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 22.
Mm.
The Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm not sure if I would put them ahead of the Broncos, but the Panthers are just so weird because again, it's the same thing with CJ Stroud. People are just like so quick to be like, "Oh, Bryce Young is going to be good." He was, and I'm like, guys, he's about as tall as Kyler Murray, and we know that Kyler Murray is not as good. Now, granted, I imagine Bryce Young has a better work ethic, which so does a potato.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
A potato didn't stop growing.
Mm.
And I just, I don't really. I was in the limited games that I watched of Bryce. I was gonna say Bryce Bush. That's not his name. Bryce
No.
Young.
Yep.
In the limited games that I've watched Bryce Young play at Alabama, it just seemed like the games that I watched, he was like.
Yeah.
And again, it's like you're playing for Alabama, like. Other than like Jalen Hurts, who didn't even finish his career at Alabama, I can't think of a good Alabama quarterback. Mac Jones? We don't even know about him. I mean,
Yeah, it's true.
but I don't know. I don't really trust the Panthers that much. They're probably going to be interesting. They could be a team similar to the Falcons where they're competing for that division. But
Okay.
I mean, rookie quarterback combined
So
with
mostly meh.
yeah, kind of. We're getting to that point with a lot of these teams where they're not horrifically bad, but they're not. They don't.
Great.
I don't aspire.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of the same thing with this team at 21, the New Orleans Saints.
This team is just not interesting at all to me.
Yeah,
Like
it's just meh.
Derek Carr at quarterback, and they brought in Jamal Williams at running back because Alvin Kamara is probably going to be suspended for some amount of time. I know he just like pleaded down to a misdemeanor for beating up that guy in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I guess they have Chris Olave. Okay.
It's just meh.
Who do they have on defense? Anybody?
Not that I
Anybody know
of.
who's on their defense?
Nope.
Paging the Spurs. Paging the Saints defense.
Anyone?
Anybody home? Anybody at all?
No?
Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. On the 20,
Yeah, what do we got?
Green Bay Packers.
This I enjoy. But honestly, I think I have them too high. Jordan Love is a total unknown. So he could be really good.
Yep.
He could be really bad.
Sure.
Or he could be average. He probably ends up as about average. Just because Matt LaFleur, generally speaking, is a pretty intelligent coach. He's probably going to put Jordan Love in good situations.
Yep.
And they do still have some talented players on that team that he can throw to, and they have an okay defense.
Yes.
But I just in my Lions fan heart, I just want Jordan Love to be just like terrible. Like I want him to be like a bottom 5 quarterback. Because that to me, that would be like it'd be like now you know. Because my whole life, Green Bay has had Hall of Fame quarterbacks. My entire life, they've had either Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. And I just want them for just a moment to have their Joey Harrington. I want them for but a moment to have their Dante Culpepper post Randy Moss. That's what I want for them. Because I had to live it. And I might have been a young boy, but I was hurt.
But you remember it.
I was hurt. I remember watching Dante Culpepper and John Kitna and Dan Orlovsky. And gosh darn it, they deserve that. They've had it too good for too long.
Okay. Now we're getting into the top 20.
All
Number
right, here we go.
19. The Las Vegas Gangsters. Raiders.
Raiders. The Raiders. Yeah, they're not very good. They're potentially ranked a little too high, but I mean, you got Jimmy G, who I don't know if he's much of an upgrade from Derek Carr.
I'd say about the same.
Yeah, I don't think you're changing much, and I guess technically you still have Devontae Adams, but he's not going to be with his boy, and so I don't even know how that relationship is going to work.
We'll see.
And you also have what's his name, Numbnuts, as the head coach. So yeah. Good luck with that. I don't really believe in the Raiders very much. I look forward to beating them on Monday Night Football.
Perfect.
With our alternate helmets. Have you seen those alternate helmets? Aren't
I
those?
did, yes.
Those are sharp, right?
Those
With
are
the
very
old
cool.
school logo with the two
Yeah.
bars and the crawling lion.
Yeah.
That's our best logo, and we just don't want to use it anymore. We got
No.
we got this, which
Yeah.
I don't hate this.
It's a lion.
This is better than like just the blue blob that they had before. Because I didn't as a kid, so I don't know. I don't have like the old Lions logo to show just to the people on the screen. As a kid, I imagine like the two paws, like so. Before it had,
Yes.
none of this white to like
Yeah.
animate it or distinguish it or whatever.
Sure.
And so I thought these like two paws were its
Mhm.
like big mouth,
Mm.
right? And it was just like really confusing because it was like, why is its mouth like a
Like
it's
that.
like a monster mouth? And then it was like, no, actually, see, it's like a lion up. Oh, I see.
Now you get it.
Anyways, we're getting off track. What's next?
The Cleveland Browns at 18.
Cleveland Browns go as far as Deshaun Watson goes, and
We'll see how many
if
misuses
you
he wants to harass.
Ow! Ow!
Sorry, Deshaun.
Yeah, something must have hit him on the head there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns. Look, he didn't look very good at all.
Yeah.
Last year, and it's not like he's been playing a lot of football in the past couple of years prior to last year. So I don't really trust him.
Yep.
For one, just as a general rule, I don't even know if he's going to make the field because a day might pass and he might get in trouble again.
Well, that's true.
And even if he's on the field, I don't really even trust that. I mean, for one, he's got a much worse pool of receivers than he did in Houston. And the Browns last year just weren't that good. And
Yeah.
again, it's going to be an interesting thing what they do with Nick Chubb, because you would imagine you want to keep him around, but if you're just kind of middling, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to trade him. But again, it's not really up to me, so it's their decision, I suppose. If they were like, let's see, if they were like 3 and I don't know when the trade deadline is. If they were like 3 and I don't know 5 or 6, I don't know.
Yep.
Again, I don't know when the trade deadline is. Say that's the record at the trade deadline. I'd
Sure.
probably trade Nick Chubb. I'd probably just say, you know what, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
We need to sell assets. Like we need to just
Yeah.
we need to get draft picks. We need to, restart essentially, which the Browns are very familiar with. So
That is true.
yeah. What do we
Number
got?
17. The New York Football Giants.
Ooh, I think the Giants are going to regress this year. I don't trust Danny Dimes. I do trust their coach because obviously he knows how to rally a team.
That is true.
But they really aren't full of a lot of talented players right now. The running back, whose name escapes me. What is his name? The running back. He went to Penn State.
Come on.
Oh my gosh, what was his name? Give me a hint. Help me out. What?
Come on.
I don't know. I don't know his name. I forgot it.
Starts with an S.
Saquon
There you go.
Barkley. Yes. Saquon is in the midst of contract talks.
Yep.
And he might not even play for some time.
Yep.
And he was a part of their basically good part of their offense. And if he's either
Yep.
not playing or not playing as good as he will or as he did last year, which that's not necessarily like a guarantee.
Yep.
I don't really trust their trajectory. So
All right.
what do we got?
16. We got Big Mac Jones and the New
Ooh.
England Patriots at number 16.
This Patriots team has got to be the most boring Patriots team in a very long time. I mean, ever since Tom Brady left, they have been
Yep.
unidentifiable as far as what they're trying to be.
Sure.
They had Matt Patricia calling offense last year, which was quite possibly one of the most boneheaded coaching decisions Bill Belichick has ever made.
Probably.
And I just don't really know what the idea is with Mac Jones at all. Like he he could be okay.
Big Mac.
But like,
Big Mac.
I just don't really know. I think Bill Belichick is on his last years, obviously,
Probably,
and
yeah.
he's probably just sort of waiting until like if he has another bad season, I wouldn't be surprised if he announces his retirement. And he wouldn't be leaving the future GM and head coach in a good situation.
Nope.
Because team is pretty devoid of major talent. They got I think they have the running back.
Mac Jones?
No, not Mac Jones. They have a
Mac-
good running back whose name escapes me.
Mac Jones.
Not Mac Jones. That's not his name.
No, I'm talking about
Whatever.
talent. Mac Jones.
Oh, well.
We're going to go with Mac Jones.
The American League just took the lead in the All-Star game.
There you go. Number 15. We're getting to the top 15 now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at number 15.
Ooh. Perfectly average. Right? Okay. I can see why they put the Steelers there.
Okay.
I think Kenny Pickett might be good. Might be.
That's a key word.
And similar to like where a lot of these teams have been, they go as far as their quarterback goes. Because the problem with Pittsburgh is they're in a very good division. They're going to have to play Lamar Jackson twice. They're going to play Joe Burrow twice.
Which is quite unfortunate. But
very difficult. But it's the Steelers. Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the league. And he just finds ways to not lose more games than he wins.
It is true.
And so I would say like
500 team.
Yeah, about 500. They could be
Maybe a little less.
They could make a wild card spot at the best. I don't see them winning the division, but
No.
it all depends on Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
It all depends on little hands Kenny.
We'll have to see. Number 14.
Who do we got?
Shout out to Robert Perkins, the Minnesota Vikings.
Ooh, the Minnesota Vikings. Wow.
Mhm.
Surprised they put them that low. I mean, I would agree. I think the Vikings are one of those teams that just is not going to be nearly as good as they were last year.
Sure.
I mean, they were what, like 11-1 in one-score games or something like that last
Something
year?
like that.
It's
yeah.
like that's not repeatable. Like
Hmm.
you keep getting into those situations where either you're, coming back and winning somehow, or the other team just implodes. Although that sort of happens in tandem with one another.
Sure.
But you saw it in the playoffs. They didn't show up on the big game, and they really didn't show up in a lot of big games last year. I mean, they had that crazy win against the Bills.
Yeah.
But that was so fluky, and like I wouldn't come away from that game if I'm a Vikings fan. I wouldn't come away from that game as like we won, we're doing so good. I would come away from it as like you dodged a bullet. And they also kind of dodged a bullet when they played us the first time. We saw what happened the next time we played them. We kind of kicked their ass.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are just one of those teams that they had a good year last year, but they were taking advantage of a lot of really lucky breaks. And I don't think the luck is going to fall again this year. I put
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we got the Lions at 13.
Yep. So here's number 12.
So here we got teams that are ahead of the Lions. So
Yes.
I'm curious about this.
The other New York football team, the Jets.
The Jets. I can't remember, or I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I think the Jets going into the season are the most overrated team in the football in NFL.
And you would say that because they have Aaron Rodgers and you're expecting him not to play very well.
Correct. I think that the Jets got the corpse of the guy they wanted. Aaron Rodgers last year was not good, especially not in big games, i.e. games in the division, namely against us, a team that he historically has beaten, and in games that he played against us, minus the last game of the year where he looked better, but he didn't look great. He just sort of fell apart. And people are forgetting like that first half of the year or so where he was just not good. And then all of a sudden he starts to put it together and everyone's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is back. Don't bet against Aaron Rodgers. And then he drops a goose egg at home in a must-win game where we had nothing to lose. We had, if anything, we had more to gain in losing that game because it would help their draft positioning. But we said, nay, we want, if we're out, you're out with us. We're going to, if you want to fight in the mud, we're going to drag you in with us. And I look at the Jets last year and their offense was horrendous. Granted, Zach Wilson, very, very bad.
Sure.
Defense was very good last year for the Jets.
Yes, it was.
Is that sustainable? I don't know. I would imagine so. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach. He's a pretty smart guy. And Sauce Gardner is the real deal. That guy is a lockdown cornerback. He's going to be a lockdown quarterback for the next decade. But outside of that, I mean, you got some of Aaron Rodgers' favorite toys coming to the Jets, but they have a terrible O-line. Their run game was good with Breece Hall, and then he died. And they have Garrett Wilson? Thank you. They had Garrett Wilson, who looked pretty good as well. Obviously, offensive rookie of the year.
I think he'll be pretty good again.
And he probably will be pretty good again. But look, I don't know that I'm that convinced that this is like people are putting this as they could win the Super Bowl, and I just think you are crazy.
I think it's a little far-fetched, but I do think that they are going to be a good team.
They could make the wild card. I don't see them doing anything further than that. I don't see them winning that division. I don't see them going that far in the playoffs. This reminds me a lot of when the Jets got Brett Favre, where they weren't terrible. They were certainly better than they were without him, but they weren't changing anybody's mind. They weren't moving the needle of the Jets. And I think by the time this whole Aaron Rodgers thing is over, New York media is going to hate Aaron Rodgers. He is going to be the Bobby Bonilla of football for them, where they went out, they gave up the house for him. It's this big thing, huge media figure, Aaron Rodgers, MVP winner, future Hall of Famer, and he sucks. He doesn't give them where they want to be.
Interesting.
And they haven't won a Super Bowl since before colored television. That's not true, but it's funny.
But
Joe Cool.
Enough. Number 11, the Seattle Seahawks.
See, I think the Seahawks are going to regress next year.
Okay.
And I think that is due to the fact that Geno Smith is probably not who we thought he was last year.
Okay.
Comeback player of the year. Obviously, he had a fantastic year. Now the book is out. Now everybody, okay, we can't just overlook Mr. Geno Smith. We have to, actually prepare against him. And I don't think he was really all that good down the stretch.
Yeah.
Obviously, he really was going off those first few games because people were just blown away by how good he was. But he's also not particularly young. Wherever he is right now is about where he is for his career. Sure. And look, they did add some interesting players, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And obviously you're going to have Kenneth Walker, and he was fantastic for them last year.
Yep.
Defense is going to be probably pretty good because Pete Carroll, and he knows defense, and that's Seattle. They always have a good defense, it seems.
Very true.
But I don't know. I don't really trust them to be that much better because I don't think Geno Smith is going to be that guy next year. And I think a lot of teams in the NFC around them are going to be better, such as the Lions.
Okay. I can buy that.
Yeah.
Number 10. Now we're getting into the top 10.
Into the top 10.
At number 10, going back to Florida for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Whoa. I like it. I like the boldness. I think the Jaguars were a fantastic team down the stretch. I know you have some very sorrowful memories involving the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they might have something in Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to say they absolutely do because, again, people are ignoring the entire year that Trevor Lawrence was there, where he didn't really put it together until the second half, and that's when things really started to roll. But Jacksonville's in a very bad division. They're probably going to win 4 to 6 games in that division. Probably closer to just sweeping. Yeah. And I don't think the problem is defense. I don't really know about their defense. I
Mhm.
don't think they really added any major pieces to that defense. I could be forgotten. I could have mistaken that.
Yeah.
And I guess Trayvon Walker, he really wasn't all that impressive last year, and they took him number 1 overall. So he's got to be pretty impressive for them,
Yeah.
next year. So I think a lot of their defense will hinge on his success.
Okay.
But as it stands, I think Trevor Lawrence could be a very interesting quarterback next year. I could definitely see top 10 in the league.
Okay. We both know number 9, Los Angeles
Yep.
Chargers.
Los Angeles
Number 8,
Chargers.
Baltimore Ravens.
This is tough.
Mhm.
And it might seem on the surface that it shouldn't be tough. But Lamar Jackson is like, he's like Two-Face. It's like you don't know which Lamar Jackson you're going to get on any given week. You could
Okay.
get MVP 2019 Lamar Jackson. You could get has to poop Lamar Jackson.
Hmm.
And both of those quarterbacks, they show up pretty much randomly.
Hmm.
And you look at his numbers since his MVP season, he's generally speaking fallen. And again, some of it is not his fault, some of it is his fault, whatever. But he has very little playoff success.
Mhm.
I think he's only won 1 playoff game in his career, which is not good given he's been in the league since 2018.
Mhm.
And my biggest gripe with him is with any running quarterback is I worry about what happens when he loses that ability to run, which inevitably happens. It happens to every running quarterback. And look, I've talked in the brief things that I've seen and heard from some Ravens fans. This is like they're not like unaware of it,
Mhm.
but I think sometimes we're totally ignoring yeah, his passing numbers have looked good, but that's also because he's a really good out of the pocket passer and he can run
Mhm.
around. If he's not able to run, those jukes and evades turn into sacks and or bad throws and interceptions or incompletions or fumbles or what have you.
Sure.
And suddenly you're not feeling so good about that massive contract you just got.
Yeah.
And I think the media kind of kisses his ass a little too much.
Okay.
He's a fun player. I like Lamar. I like his football attitude. I like the way that he carries himself. I have immense respect for him that he managed to negotiate for himself and get a really good contract. But as far as his skills, a quarterback, I mean, he's clearly a good player, but it's really, like I said, which Lamar Jackson am I going to get? And if he starts to regress in his running ability, do not be surprised if his passing numbers go with it.
Interesting. Number 7, Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, this is ridiculous. Come on. ESPN, come on. You're better than this. We know that the Dallas Cowboys are not number 7. We know that they're not better than honestly, they're not better than the Lions. I'm sorry. They're not. Like, you can say I'm a total Lions homer. The Dallas Cowboys are routinely playoff failures. They are routinely just like regular season nothings. Like, they get all these massive television games, right? Because of the Cowboys, and they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest fan bases in the NFL. But they always disappoint. And look, this year they're going to be in a much tougher NFC than they were last year. Namely because they have to play the actually good Lions this time as opposed to the spiraling out of control Lions. And they had to play them later in the season, which is usually around when the Cowboys start to, falter. And I'm sorry, I can't forgive them for that final play against the 49ers. What the hell was that? I mean, try a Hail Mary. Like, what are you... And Mike McCarthy is just not. He's clearly not the coach that's going to elevate them any further.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know why well, I do know why, but I don't know why the Cowboys continually are like seen as like, oh yeah, they're the Cowboys. We got to put them up here. It's like it's not warranted at this point. I'm a results kind of guy. If you don't
Sure.
produce the results for me, like I don't really have any reason to respect you. And the Cowboys,
Alright.
since I've been
They
following,
don't do that.
I
Yep.
got no reason to respect them.
Number 6, another Florida team, the Miami Dolphins.
I like the Miami Dolphins. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Tua is an interesting player because
He died.
He did die. This is
now he's
really
dead.
exactly. Thank you. He actually kind of did die like for a little bit. I
Yep.
was like, I don't know if he's gonna play football again, and
He's
he
back.
did, and he looked pretty much like he did before, which is very commendable.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to see him play that full year where he is playing like the guy that he can. And it's not a matter of having bad weapons or having a bad coach. And now you go and get Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be an upgrade for your defense. Yeah, I mean, I could see the Dolphins being a top 10 team for sure.
Okay.
They're an interesting team because in that division, they are one of the teams that I think could win it. But a lot of things would have to go right for them. And to be
Sure.
fair, the Bills, I don't know how much I trust them at this point. But I don't trust them any more than I trust the Dolphins to win that division. So it's like they're equally
It's like, yeah.
they're very similar teams to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I
Alright.
feel like this.
Top 5. Here we go.
Here we go.
Number 5, heading out to San Fran and the 49ers.
It's hard to argue. It really is because Kyle Shanahan, that man, can make me an NFL quarterback, and we probably win like maybe 3 or 4 games. Look, nobody knew who Brock Purdy was until last year, and maybe he's good, maybe he's not. Statistically speaking, guys taken last in the draft, typically not. He did really perform way better than anybody would have expected. If he was just average, he would have outperformed people, but he was legitimately a good quarterback.
Yep.
The question is, what are they going to do with him? What is the deal with Trey Lance when he comes back? Because they traded up to get him. And to just say, no, actually, we're going to go with Mr. Irrelevant, Mr. Lance. We'll take your talents elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, they routinely are a team that is in the playoffs, that is in the hunt for the NFC Championship. They've yet to really get over the hump, and I want them to do it because surprisingly, the San Francisco 49ers are probably the one California team that is not like one of your San Diego teams, just because I like your teams, that I can actually really root for. They're a really historic team. Their fans are not bandwagon fans by any means. And so many great players have played for San Francisco, and Kyle Shanahan, even though he's kind of like a robot in a lot of ways.
Yep.
He's just a guy that you want to see have success because he is so brilliant at designing offenses. And I love Deebo Samuel. I love what's his name? CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Nick Bosa, fantastic player. I really like the San Francisco 49ers, and they're definitely one of the scarier teams in the NFC. I'm, as a Lions fan, certainly scared of them. I don't think we play them this year in the regular season, but if and when we make the playoffs, if we make a run, probably going to have to meet the 49ers, and that will be probably a really interesting game, assuming that the Lions are what they have more marketed to be.
Yep.
Who do we got next?
Number 4.
Numero cuatro.
The Buffalo Bills are number 4.
Oh, Buffalo. What's going on, guys? We need to get this together. Josh Allen has been throwing interceptions like it's his second job, because it kind of is. He threw, 30 interceptions in the past 2 years or something like that? He's got to be able to not turn over the ball, because when he is not turning over the ball, he is one of, if not the best quarterback in the league. His ability to run, his ability to heave the ball. We saw it in that 2021 or AFC division playoff game.
That was a great game.
He is one of the best football games I've ever watched. He is unbelievable when he's on. And
it's true.
He really was not on for the most part last year. I mean, it was something like he was turning the ball over in the red zone more than any other quarterback. And if you're going to turn the ball over, you really don't want to turn it over in the red zone, because that is no points. I'd rather you 3 and out or whatever, and you just have to kick a field goal. You turn the ball over, you turn 3 to 7 points to
To zero.
0, which is
Nada.
not going to win football games. And we
Correct.
saw it in the playoffs where the Bengals just totally kicked their ass. And look, they're going to want to make a bounce back season. I think
Mhm.
they're going to rally around, especially DeMar Hamlin.
Mhm.
And I think that could be a rallying call for them.
Sure.
But look, they're a really talented team. They're a really scary team, but it really all depends on who Josh Allen is this particular season.
Yep. And now we get into the top 3.
Top 3.
To the top 3.
Tuda.
Number 3 according to ESPN, the third best team in the NFL is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes some sense.
Okay.
Philadelphia was a very good team last year. They had, I believe, the best defense in the league.
Yes, they did.
But in the Super Bowl, that defense laid a massive egg. They didn't sack Patrick Mahomes once, and they gave up
No.
38 points. Not looking good.
But
Jalen Hurts, spoke about him earlier. He could be very, very good. He could be that, Justin Herbert. Well, Justin Herbert is fair, but he's probably more a Patrick Mahomes type of quarterback where he's mobile. He's able to
mhm.
make use of his feet in his game, and he's able to heave the ball with intense accuracy and for very high amounts of yardage. I really like the Philadelphia Eagles. I like their coach. I really like the roster.
Mhm.
Very fun team to watch. Super high quality offense. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think they're probably going to be a really good team next year. However, don't be surprised if they regress just a teensy bit. Maybe they don't. What do they win? 13 games of regular season this year.
I believe so.
So
13.
don't be surprised if they win like 11 games. Like slightly off. But
Still within the range.
still basically, I mean, you're in the playoffs, like, fine. As long as you're winning your division and you're getting
Yep.
home field advantage, you're not like a 7 seed or something.
Mhm.
People are not going to be that upset.
Yeah.
And again, I trust Jalen Hurts to an extent. Maybe that trust is unwarranted, but he looked really good last year, and I don't really have a whole lot of reason to believe that he's just going to totally regress back to the Jalen Hurts he was before Sirianni got there.
Yep. Number 2.
It'll be either the
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, Cincinnati. Look, Cincinnati is a very fun team, and I really was hoping they would win that Super Bowl back in 2021. My
Mhm.
fear is that Super Bowl loss is going to haunt them
Mm.
because last year in the playoffs they had to deal with the Chiefs, and that didn't work out well. And they
Well,
will
never
probably
does.
have to do. Yeah, they will probably have to deal with the Chiefs again
Yep.
this year in the playoffs. And it's like you just keep, you know what it reminds me of like the Steelers, where the Steelers managed to win a Super Bowl in like the late 2000s. They beat the Cardinals or whatever. And the
Yep.
Patriots, they just kept losing to the Patriots. Every year was like the Steelers were losing to the Patriots.
Yep.
And I don't want that to be the case for the Bengals. I really would love to see a Bengals Super Bowl.
That'd
They're
be
probably
awesome.
they're one of my favorite second or third teams for me.
Mhm.
Also, I mean, they have the coolest helmet in the league.
That is true.
They just it's always been the coolest helmet. They
Yep.
routinely put out great stuff. Joe Burrow seems to be that guy. I think he could have a really good season next year. I need that offensive line to not be awful. Like, be average, and he could have
Yeah.
an MVP caliber season.
Absolutely. And
And
Mike,
then number 1.
who's
yeah.
number 1?
The Shanghai Sharks. No,
Yes,
the Kansas
correct.
City Chiefs.
Per usual. No surprise there.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty hard to argue.
Yeah.
At least as it stands.
yeah.
Look, Patrick Mahomes, he was able to take a on paper worse Chiefs team and win the Super Bowl with that team.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it was going to happen. I don't think a
I
lot of
didn't.
people believed it was going to happen.
And it did.
And it did. And it really
know?
makes it hard for me to go into this year and think, well, they're going to be worse.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard to repeat in this league. So inevitably, if you don't make if you don't win the Super Bowl, let alone if you don't make the Super Bowl, you will technically speaking be worse.
It's a disappointment.
Yeah, right,
know.
exactly. But look, the thing is with the Chiefs to me is I think right now they're kind of riding that high. I don't really know a whole lot about what they're doing in the offseason. I haven't really followed any
I
of
don't
their
think
free
it's a
agency
whole
moves.
lot, to be quite
Yeah,
honest.
I don't remember any massive things. I remember for a little bit there was the DeAndre thingamabob going on with them, and that basically just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And my view of that is they don't want to pay him what he's asking for.
Yep.
And that would be the only thing that I could imagine would
Being
be
the case.
interesting. Like I've said this before, and some people laugh at this. Don't be surprised if they lose week 1. Honestly, like we saw it with the Rams, where you looked. I mean, I think to be fair to that game, I think people at the time thought that was a much closer matchup. But the Lions made massive upgrades to their team, and the Chiefs, as far as I'm aware, pretty much just running it back. Not a bad strategy when you win the Super Bowl, but when a team has a lot of tape on you and knows exactly what this team is versus a team with a lot of new guys coming together that frankly have a pretty big chip on their shoulder in the Detroit Lions, don't be surprised if they come in and at least make that game interesting. At least make you shiver in your boots in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I mean the Chiefs are probably going to be a really good team.
Yep.
I wouldn't say they're a lock to win that division just because the division is just always weird. But then again, they've won that division like 5 times in a row. It's pretty hard to it's pretty hard to say that another team is going to win that division.
That's like if the
when it just doesn't happen.
Chargers, if the Chargers somehow pull off just an incredible year and the Chiefs have like an insane down year,
Right.
I would
Right.
see the Chargers as the only team, and that's not even a Chargers bias. The Chargers
I
are
agree
the
with
only
that.
team I see winning because the Broncos and the Raiders are not going to
I
win.
mean, I remember last year going into the year, people thought that division was really up for grabs, and the
And then
irony
the
is
Chiefs just
never
ran.
Well, it's like it just never was. It was
No.
like there was never a point where you were like, "Oh, the Chargers are going to win this division. The Raiders are going to." No, it just wasn't. It just
It's
wasn't a
always the
thing.
Chiefs. The Chargers like may have come close, teensy bit. It was never a doubt though.
But they were just. Yeah.
That's just how the Chiefs are. But anyway,
That was
that
a
is
pretty good list.
all
ESPN.
32 teams.
Not
Yes.
not terrible. I'm not offended. I'm
That's
not
good.
angry with them.
That's good.
Yeah. So I only have a few things I want to talk about as we wrap up the show, very briefly. Henry Hasselback, 3-star
Yes.
quarterback, commits to MSU, son of Matt Hasselback.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna pretend I know this guy. I've never seen Henry Hasselback play. I've seen
Nope.
Matt Hasselback play. He played for the Seahawks. He had a couple of Pro Bowls.
He's
Kind of
pretty good.
he was an all right player in the NFL.
He's all right. He's pretty good.
And, this could be the quarterback that Mel Tucker wants his team to ride around. I mean, this is a guy who's going to be coming in. I believe he's in the class of 2024. So he would be coming in. Yeah, he would be coming in next year as a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Like, it was a story that I saw, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect this because I thought we were going to be running the Noah Kim experience for, the next couple of years. No, we managed to get somebody who is,
I think
not
Noah
a
Kim's
nobody.
a junior, right?
Is he?
I think so.
I thought he was like,
Or a sophomore or a junior.
I don't know how old he is.
think
I
he
don't
might
know
be a
what Noah
junior.
Kim looks like.
Really?
In my mind, he's Asian. Is that wrong? Am I
That is
racist?
correct.
Is this okay? He is Asian.
Yep. And he's got a tattoo sleeve on his left arm, I believe.
I think I put him in a thumbnail,
I think
and
you
I should.
You should probably know.
You would
but
think
I'm
I
not-
would know, but I don't know.
all right.
Hopefully, this Hasselback is
Yeah.
good. I mean,
Hopefully
he's
it's a
coming
step
from
in the right direction. you
Right.
know?
I mean, he's coming from a NFL quarterback family, so take
means
for that
something,
what you
hopefully.
will. But it could be interesting.
Yeah, and I mean 3 stars.
Yeah, 3 stars. That's decent.
It's decent. Yeah.
That's decent.
Ultimately we'd like to look at 4 and 5 stars, but you gotta start somewhere.
The thing is, when you're Michigan State, you
It's
sort of have to deal with the scraps.
of Michigan,
Of Michigan, of Ohio State.
Penn State.
And take for
Vermont.
that what you will. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how Kirk Cousins or Connor Cook were as far as their stars. Let me actually look that up. Kirk Cousins high school ranking. Okay, this is from 24/7 Sports.
Mm-hmm.
It says NA. That does not help.
So was he unranked?
Was he unranked? I would be surprised. I mean, I guess it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. It just says NA. View recruiting profile. Let's see. Okay, he was a 3-star.
Okay.
So that's a decent comp. Let's see Connor Cook. Connor Cook. Nice. Connor Cook. He was also a 3-star.
Okay. So if we're
we
looking
got
at
two of the best quarterbacks in Michigan State history, in modern Michigan State history, and they were both 3-stars. So
there you go.
And it's like,
Might be
generally
a
speaking,
sign.
yeah, maybe it's a sign. And I mean, Mel Tucker has kind of been making some sneaky moves recently. He's gotten a few. I think he got a 4-star wide receiver
And a 4-star
for next
running
year's
back,
class,
too.
And a running back, and I think a DB as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for all the Michigan slappies and college football slappies who are, Mel Tucker, he's got to be on the hot. No, guys, I think he's doing okay.
He's just doing it in the shadows where you can't see him.
Right now, I mean, look, if next year we're 3-9, sure, maybe we'll have that conversation. But I'm not gonna say after one disappointing year where things could not go right at all. But
yes,
from injuries to just things not improving whatsoever.
Coaching also, but that's
coaching was not good. I mean, I'm not saying it was great, but to just say we gotta fire him or he's just not good. I don't know how people can be so definitive on him, especially given. Are we just going to act like 2021 did not happen? To just say he was just Kenneth Walker. It's like you weren't saying that at the time. You were saying it was the opposite.
You're saying it was Mel Tucker,
or you were saying that Kenneth Walker actually isn't even that good. It was just. It's like all of a sudden he's good in the pros because, of course, he's good in the pros because Kenneth Walker is amazing
great in college.
I can't deal with some people. Some people don't. They just don't.
There's funny people out there,
Yeah. And then very briefly to wrap up the show because we do have to talk some hockey, or else I don't know. The 30 people who care are going to punch sand. Here they are on the phone, actually.
They're here. They're watching live.
Some very fun news happened for the Red Wings.
Yes.
They traded for Alex Debrincat.
Yes.
And they, to be frank, kind of swindled the Ottawa Senators.
Well, there you go.
The trade was announced on July the 9th at around 8 o'clock.
I remember seeing this on Instagram, actually.
Yeah. So they acquired Alex Debrincat from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Dominic Kubalik, Donovan Sabrango, and a conditional first-round pick and a fourth-round pick in 2024. So that conditional first round, so basically, from my understanding, it is whatever the lower of our 2 first-round picks is next year.
Okay.
And the thing is, both those picks could be out of the lottery. Especially if we're good, if we're in the playoffs, we're not going to be in the lottery, obviously.
Sure.
And the other pick is the Boston pick. And Boston, I don't know how much. I think they're going to regress. I mean, they're going to regress because they had the best season ever last year. So they kind of have to regress unless they have another season like that.
Sure.
And then a fourth-round pick. I mean, sure, you can get good players in the NHL draft in the 4th round, but I'm not going to lose any sleep about trading a 4th-round pick. Dominic Kubalik is probably the only name that is of note. Let me pull up Kubalik's numbers. He was pretty good last year. 20 goals, 25 assists for 45 points. He was a decent player.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No, not terrible, but a lot of his goals were he's not like
Tap-ins or-
like tip-ins or like power play. Like, not that
Okay.
those goals don't. I don't want to pretend that those goals aren't important. They are important, but
in the grand scheme
he's
of
also
things.
27 years old,
Mm.
and he was on an expiring contract. We only signed him for 2 years, so we were not
Okay.
going to continue to pay him. Probably, like he didn't play unless he scored like 50 goals
Oh,
that year.
well.
We weren't going to keep him.
Yeah.
And again, 45 points is nothing special. He wasn't really a facilitator for other
Just kind of-
players.
yeah, meh.
He's a decent player. He's a veteran of the league. He's been playing for, I guess at this point it'll be his 5th year,
Okay.
and he
Get
wasn't all
Debrincat out of
rookie.
it.
Yeah, like I mean, he's not. Yeah, we get Alex Debrincat, who immediately is our second best player. Alex
Yeah.
Debrincat, and this was on an off year for him. This was a not great year for him. He scored 27 goals, had 39 assists for 66 points. That would make him our second best player ahead of
Mhm.
David Perron, who is right now on an expiring contract,
Mm.
and also he's like 100 years old.
Oh, well.
So he's probably not going to be that good next year, or
Yes.
at least not nearly as good as he was last year.
Yeah.
But he is only one season removed from scoring 40 goals, 41 to be exact.
There you go.
And he did not. It was very clear he did not want to be in Ottawa. He's
Mhm.
made it clear in the media. Didn't want to be in Ottawa. His family situation was not good in Ottawa.
Okay.
Didn't like it. Didn't like it
Yeah.
in Ottawa. Don't blame
And
him.
now-
Canada sucks. Now he is back home. He's from Farmington Hills, Michigan. I know
Is
where
he?
that is.
Well-
Like he's from the Metro Detroit area. He grew up rooting for the Red Wings. This is a perfect fit. I think he's
Mhm.
going to be a really good player. I think similar to the effect that Matthew Tkachuk had on the Florida
Mm.
Panthers, I
Mhm.
think he could have on the Red Wings. Because
Okay.
right now, the Red Wings, they have a super young team. They have a lot of young players coming up in Simon Edvinsson, in Marco Kasper, in Carter Mazur. We have a guy in our system named Redmond Savage. I need this guy to be good. Because if
That'd
we
be
can have
awesome.
a player on the Red Wings nicknamed Red Savage,
Yeah.
that is just the coolest thing ever. Come on.
It really is.
And on top of the fact, we do have Dylan Larkin, who is not like an amazing player, but he's like
Mhm.
a top 50 player. Like he's
Okay, yeah.
a good player. And I think Debrincat is only going to make a player like Larkin look better. And
That's
I think
good.
he's also only going to make players like Lucas Raymond look better. And he might even hell, David Perron might look fine. Or Michael
Who knows?
Rasmussen. Like we're
Maybe
going,
he'll get some years off.
yeah, and then we also that's true. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll turn 25 again when he was
Exactly.
winning Stanley Cups with the St. Louis Blues.
Yes.
And like this is a playoff team at this point, and I'm not afraid to say that. I think Yzerman, obviously the general manager, I think he
Mhm.
is maneuvered that to be the position. And I think the thing is, he was getting on some people's nerves because he was in his interviews. Steve Yzerman is like the least emotional person I think ever to exist.
Very
he
nice.
does not like
Red Wings
they
legend,
asked him
but-
about like the playoffs, and he was just like, I don't really feel any pressure to make the playoffs or anything. Like I think right now we're just sort of collecting assets. We're just
We're good.
building things,
Don't worry about
slowly,
it.
doing things the right way, and
Yeah.
then bam, he just managed to get
Well-
Alex Debrincat for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
like-
honestly, his reaction should have just been like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." When
Yeah,
asked
no,
about
honestly,
that
that was
stuff.
sort of the situation. It was like, because people were like, what are we doing? Why are we just doing all these depth signings? Why aren't we
Don't worry
making a
about
big
it.
move? And
You'll see.
then, like, we didn't have to give up our draft picks. We didn't have to give up
Mhm.
we didn't have to give up any of our top prospects. We had to give up a player on an expiring contract, a prospect I don't even know, and some
A
a
couple of
conditional
picks.
first and a 4th round pick.
Who
Like,
cares?
nothing. It
Yeah.
was an absolute masterclass by Iceman. Absolute
Yep.
masterclass. Very excited for Alex Debrincat. I think he is going to be a top of the line scorer in the league. I think he could score upwards of 35 goals next year, if not 40 goals.
Well, there you go.
So very excited for that.
Yep.
And it makes me even more excited for hockey season. Come
Yes.
on. It's going to be so because we got the Lions
be
and
better.
we got the Red Wings. We're going to have 2 good teams playing at the same time. Do you remember the last time that happened to Detroit?
What about the Pistons? Oh,
He's been waiting for a while. New Orleans has been waiting for a while.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Stephen A.
yeah. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, well, I don't know. I for sure agree that there's gonna be 2 teams in Detroit in their respective sports that are making more noise than Detroit teams typically make.
I honestly can't think of the last time we had 2 good teams in the city. I'm trying to think. Like, okay, 2018, no. I'm just thinking of years teams made the playoffs.
Mhm.
2016, no. Well, I guess the Pistons also made the playoffs that year, but they
Mm.
weren't really. They got swept, so
Okay.
they weren't good. But the Red Wings also got swept, I think, that year.
Oh, nice.
It was a great year for the Detroit
Yeah,
Red Wings.
yeah.
The Lions made the. Maybe it was 2016.
Okay.
2016 might have been the last time we had
3 teams in the playoffs.
3 teams that were mediocre. We'll say that.
There you go.
Uh,
But now it's
but
2
now
teams
it's like
that
we
are good.
had the Lions last year who were mediocre to good, and the Red Wings last year were mediocre to good. The Pistons were very bad.
Yeah.
Tigers this year, I guess, are probably closer to mediocre. Uh,
So we'll see.
What was the last time we had like really good? It's getting pretty scary. Maybe 2008.
Was that Pistons and when did the Red Wings win the Stanley Cup again?
The Red Wings won in 2008, and the Pistons, I think, made the Eastern Conference Finals for the last time in 2008.
Okay. I would say that.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of because after that they didn't.
15 years ago?
Yeah, 15 years ago was the last time they won a playoff game. They didn't make the playoffs in 2009. The
There you go.
Pistons and the Red Wings, they went to the Stanley Cup the next year, but they didn't
Mhm.
win.
Yeah.
And the Lions were not good around that time.
Yeah, so it's probably 2008.
The 2010s Lions were pretty fine. They were never like. It never felt like the Lions this year, where like it really felt like something was being built. Like
Right.
the 2010 Lions were like, you're just sort of adding a bunch of players that are in theory pretty good, but they don't
Mhm.
really fit anything. Like there's no culture. It was
Yeah.
just like, Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and Ndamukong Suh. I don't know. No offensive line. Basically no run game.
Yeah.
Drafting Eric Ebron. You don't want to know who was drafted after Eric Ebron. You really don't.
You're
We're
correct.
We're gonna look this up.
Oh, there we go.
Eric Ebron draft. It will haunt me. 2014 draft. Okay. Where's Eric Ebron? There he is. Oh, Taylor Lewan was drafted right after that. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Hey, look, Aaron Donald. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr. Huh. Are those guys good? Are those good players?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could have Odell Beckham Jr.
Mhm.
Could you imagine? We would have had Calvin Johnson, OBJ on the same team.
Yep.
We could have had Aaron Donald with Ndamukong Suh. Are you serious?
Yeah.
We would have been so good in 2015. We would have been so good. We were coming off of our best team.
But
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Mm.
I don't want to talk about it.
but
Things are on the up and up.
Yep.
We started the show. I was angry. Now we're feeling good. We
Now
got
we're on the
high hopes for the
positives.
Lions. We got high hopes for the Red Wings, and the San Diego Padres just lost again.
Ow! Ow!
Why are you the way that you are?
He's been waiting for a while. New Orleans has been waiting for a while.
I cannot decipher what he's saying.
New Orleans has been waiting for a while.
I know, yeah, something about New Orleans.
They've been waiting for a while, Mike. According to Stephen A. I've been waiting for a while for the Padres to not be a trash baseball team.
Well, they did win the offseason last year, and I believe in 2015. So
Well, I'm talking about like right now.
you can put the banner up.
Yeah. Well,
They don't have banners in baseball.
No, they don't.
They have flags.
Anyway.
Yeah. We did it. This is a longer show, obviously. We had a lot of things to catch up on. We had a lot of
Yep.
things. But that's
Indeed.
okay. It was a good show. My voice is exhausted. But
Yes.
that is all for it. It's worth the grind. That's
for
what
a good
all-
cause.
what it's all about.
It's a very good cause.
Yeah. It's for the cause of my life being shortened by rage and depression from
And chubby
generally
NBA players.
sad sports teams.
Yep.
Yeah. The All-Star game is tied right now.
Oh.
1-1.
Very nice. Very riveting.
The AL has won like something like 5 in a row. Get it together right now. Get
Yeah.
it together.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm rooting for the AL, obviously.
Well, of course.
Yeah. I don't think Michael Lorenzen has pitched yet. He'll probably pitch like the 7th.
Yeah.
He's a scary arm to have in the back end.
Oh,
But yeah, we're gonna wrap up the show. We will be back next week.
Yep.
I don't know what's going to happen next week.
Who knows?
We might have to find a topic. I don't, because we're
We might
entering
have to.
into the
Dead times.
we might be. I would imagine if we're talking about anything, we're gonna be talking about trade rumors in the MLB.
Mhm. That's probably it.
But if not, maybe I don't know. Maybe maybe Mel Tucker will strangle somebody.
Ooh,
That would be a story.
that'd
We would
be
cover
cool.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, like we could probably find some. Do you think we could go get Mel Tucker? We can get him to strangle somebody right now.
Yeah.
This is
I'll
a
head
joke,
over there
bro.
right
This
now.
is a joke. This is a
Oh.
joke. This is not real. This is not a joke. This
Yep.
is. I almost said this is not a joke. This is a joke. This is not
It's not
real.
real.
We do. If
real.
if Mel Tucker actually strangles someone, you cannot use this as evidence against us.
That is true. I will not be prosecuted for this.
Yeah. It's not happening.
No.
All right. I got nothing else to say. So, there's a fly in my house.
And you just almost caught it.
I thought I got it.
I've got nothing else to add. Just glad to be back after, being lost in the play place. And
That was quite the scary situation.
yep. But I'm ready for the rest of summer. As we said, we're going into the dead times. So we'll come up with stuff to talk about.
More power rankings. Who's the worst team in MLS, and why is it the
Something.
Kansas City Cornholes?
Yes.
That's my
That'll be it.
favorite team. Cornhole spelled with a K.
Yes. Because they're from Kansas City.
Yeah, that's right. Do you watch
All right.
MLS?
I don't watch MLS. The soccer that I watch is
World?
European.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where actually good players play.
That's where good soccer players play.
Yeah. Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, folks.
Goodbye. End the broadcast. Click the red button. Goodbye.